that's a lot of space news. Okay. Let's get out of that. Let's get that. Let's get that. Let's get that. And that. And that. And that. Okay, I got everything. The delay is bad today. Hold on. Let me shut that for a second. Shut the mixer for a moment. And yep. And that? Okay. Sorry I missed a short Minecraft stream this morning. Never got the notification. Hey, don't worry about it, dude. It was a terrible stream anyway. I was half asleep the entire time. It's all good, man. We'll do it tomorrow or Saturday or whenever. It's all good, man. Yeah. I forget. Dude, I knew how to play the theme at one point. It's actually not that hard. I just totally forget how to play it. Boy, do I suck at that thing. The plushie looks sus. I love it, Dish. That's awesome. It does look kind of sus, yeah. Oh, back to school. Back to school. To prove to Dad that I'm not a fool. Alright. Should we do one more? How's the delay? Is it getting better? Oh, that was bad. Hey, Vasia. You powered on good this time? Good enough. Good enough. Trying to get a little hype up here as much as I can, dude. That's why I'm playing the guitar. I'm trying to wake up. My day got all screwed up, dude. I had to drive into the city today, and it was... Vasia, you ever play that game Labyrinth? That's Boston streets. That's not. It's not where it goes. It goes. Gonna head out to the highway. Yeah. Okay. Back to E. Oh, jeez, the guy from Boston has to bring up how he's from Boston again. Oh. Dead Crew, don't make me regret hitting the go live button today again. Don't make me regret it. Don't make me regret it. Alright, fine. You want a Boston song? Sure. Oh, I screwed up. What bite? 8-monthly sub. Daddy J could even play a status quo riff, and those are some of the easiest in rock. Yeah, I don't listen to garbage bands though, Tessa. Let's see, can you play Linkin Park or Nickelback? I don't know any of their songs, Liam. I'm sure I could play them, but I never liked Linkin Park or Nickelback, dude. I'm not hating, but I never liked those. I mean, Linkin Park's okay. Give us another Green Day. Okay. Look at this graph! Yeah. No. Okay, it's G to A. Okay. I forget where it goes. That's it. Nope. Not quite space news, but the meme lord would appreciate it. Oh, I want to jam with you one day. You played bass. Snap. 9,000 in the decathlon. That's pretty impressive. What's another Green Day song that I know? Welcome to. Actually, I mean Green Day's tuned down 1/2 step, so it sounds like this. But I intentionally play it with standard tuning, so it sounds different. Comfortably numb? Oh, I can't play that. I can't play that. Not skilled enough. Do you like Buckethead? Yeah. I don't listen to Buckethead. Popsicle, I listen to boomer music, man. No, not even kidding. Straight up. Actually, it's mostly 80s metal. Here. Like. Want to play my music? Your music? Yeah, human music. Any Eddie? I love Eddie, dude. Eddie's my favorite. What is this? Oh, that's kind of cool. I don't know if this music... That's your band? Oh, that's cool. Eddie Van Halen here. I think... I love Eddie, dude. Van Halen was one of my favorite bands, man. I was super bummed when he passed away. It still screws with me. Nighthound, I don't. You nailed Brain Stew the other day. That's a great song, man. I used to know like all of Dookie Pulse at one point. All of it. Like I could play all of it, no problem. Green Day isn't hard to play. It's fun. It's fun to play, and that's what makes Dookie so damn good. Dookie's the best album. Dookie and Nimrod, man. I can't stand American Idiot or anything after that. I'm sorry. It's just terrible music compared to Dookie. Dookie's the best. Cryo Shell. Oh, the Cryo Shell's up. Sweet. Apparently they're lifting the Cryo Shell. Yeah. Here. How do you do it? Oh, I screwed it up. Let me try that again. I screwed it up already. Yeah, Dish, I'm with you. My favorite Van Halen song is off Van Halen 1. It's called On Fire. I can't play it, dude. It's On Fire and I'm the One. On Fire is my favorite, dude. And then I'm the one you love. Come on, baby, show your love. How? Give it to me. Hear your message from above. I'm telling you, I'll show you love me. I'll show your love. That song's amazing. Eruption? Last boss, take the bet. No, that's I can't. Like, Apollo 440. Stop the rock. Can't stop the rock. You can't stop the rock. I'd have to listen to it, dude. I can't listen to it here. Atomic Punk's amazing, dude. Nobody rules these streets tonight but me, the Atomic Punk. See, you can voice crack when you're singing DLR. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Your voice can crack all the time. You can't sing. It doesn't matter. It's about the rock and roll. Bow, now, 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 now. Zappa, yeah, I like Zappa. Yep. Hey, funny man. That song's so good, man. Turn your radios on. I'll be right there. Yes, I will. The B-21 has changed shape. It is now a tent. Using advanced stealth materials and digital tools, the B-21 Raider will be more affordable, maintainable, and sustainable. Man, they got a cloaking device. It's just a tent. Hope you're doing better. While my computer is not strong enough to do flight testing, I did part testing and research with applications for your small SSTO milk stand. Is there a place in your Discord I could post the pictures or data? King, just get perms from one of the mods, dude. Yeah, the airplane's right there. God dang, that's... Man, they really have that stealth tech figured out, huh? That face one, you want to show how good your company is at engineering, but also... Seriously. This is the best. Dude, this is awesome. Look at this. Look at this tweet. This gets better and better. Vulcan. Well, tomorrow I start heading back north for Antares. First time I'll be to the Wallops facility. Wallops is cool, man. It's very comfy. Very comfy, very chill. Look. I'm thinking about leaving a comment. Just, oh man, wow, you can't even see the plane. Yeah, Tesla in the museum. Oh, the stealth. Yeah, dude, look at how good guys. It's a U.S. Air Force photo. Man, they really got the cloaking device figured out on that one. Can't even see the plane. Bro, the new stealth tech is... Yeah, I can tell. Like, that's clearly an airplane ramp. It's just Yeah, there's nothing. Yeah, I can't even see it. You couldn't help yourself? Uh-oh. Oh my goodness.
Okay, what do I get if
okay, so they're doing a cryo shell lift, I guess. Hang on, check this out, guys. So SN20 already rolled to the pad, dudes. It's already there.
No throttle up.
But it's missing some parts, I think. It's going over GSE-5. Russia can't checkmate this stealth technology. Yeah, I know, right? You see that? Man, it's really stealthy. Ishigu, 1 year down. Thanks for all the content. My pleasure. My pleasure, bud. Look at that thing. So they tensioned the hooks, and then they said, nah, let's move GSE instead. So they have the second biggest crane there, moving grounds. They're sleeving the ground service equipment. Why are some of the tiles missing on SN20? Because history repeats itself? Because history repeats itself. Damn, so it disappeared? Oh, that's just a shame. Yep, history repeats itself. I'm sorry, it's funny to me. If you get the joke, you get the joke. If not, I mean... Are you saying they fell off versus not installed? What? No. No. This is this is when Columbia was moved to KSC for final processing in 1978. No. That's not the tiles falling off. No. Different meme. Shuttle Columbia 1978. Look. Oop. They shipped it without all the tiles. See? They did final processing in the OPFs. Oh. Bonus points if you can tell me what shuttle that is. Good heritage to continue. Yep. Woody? No, it's not Pathfinder. Enterprise? It's not Enterprise. It's the structural testing article. Which would be Challenger. That's right. That's Challenger. Also, that Peterbilt though. That COE Peterbilt. Yeah, a little bit of shuttle history and trivia for the day. Challenger was never supposed to be an orbiter that flew into space, or what the chassis that would become Challengers. It was never supposed to fly. It was the structural testing article. So, after Columbia's first couple of missions, the plan was to take Enterprise and revamp Enterprise and make it into a shuttle, right? But NASA looked at the flight test article and the structural testing article, and they said, this is a bare bones shuttle, and this is a shuttle that we'd have to take apart to get it to bare bones to make it into a shuttle. And said, no. Yeah, and they took the structural testing article and they made a Challenger. That was the second orbiter to fly. Can we have a Dream Chaser Enterprise? Because it's about damn time that name flies again. Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. Look, SN20 is not finished. It's nowhere near finished, dude, but one of these, I want a starship named Enterprise. I think Starship is fitting, is a fitting continuation of the shuttle program. At least name the lunar lander Enterprise, please. Shame that they didn't do both. Yeah. A Starship Enterprise. Yep, exactly. We want the Starship Enterprise. Yes. Yes. Yeah. It should be SN 1701. Will it pick you up? No, that's something different. Alright, let's see how this cryo shell is going.
Starhopper's first flight was yesterday. On the 4th was the anniversary of that one. So.
Happy birthday, Tessa, by the way.
Ooh, here goes the cryo shell. It's going down.
Look at that. Look at how much it's moving. I mean, the cryo shell is almost like a big windsock. It's a big surface area on that cranium. Certainly it's very heavy, but it looks like it's taken a lot of motion there.
Yeah.
You see the tagline sort of going down.
I mean, it's just really just a giant steel shell. Like it probably weighs not a lot for its size, really. So the wind is probably blowing it around.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like a thinner millimeter stainless steel or a thinner steel than the tanks themselves, because it doesn't have to hold the pressure. That's what I was sort of thinking. Like, is that thing lighter than the tanks we normally see, like the thicker stainless steel?
Yeah, I was curious about that too. Are these lighter than, because their circumference is bigger, but they also don't have a bottom. So
what's the shell for? Serious, are you familiar with a vacuum sealed thermos? It's a vacuum sealed thermos that's taller than a building. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what that is. Yeah. It's a big thermos. Yeah, they're gonna bring the pressure in between the tank, which is holding cryogenic propellants, in this down to nothing. So you get little thermal transfer. Little heat transfer between the outer and the inner tank because it's at low pressure. He can't radiate. He has real trouble. Well, not radiate. He has real trouble convecting in a vacuum, i.e., it doesn't. Yeah. So the silo is getting a koozie, pretty much. Vacuum sealed thermos more than a koozie, but yeah. A bit. I know how it works. Well, yeah. If you have here, I have one. I have a thermos. Give me 1 second. I'll go get it. I'll be right back. So, no, this isn't a plug for frigging Yeti. But here's a Yeti thermos, right? So the Yeti thermos has an inner wall, and then it has an outer wall. And in between them is about a ½ inch. You see how thick this is comparatively to the inner wall of the thermos, right? It's just water. I just washed this the other day. There's vacuum in there. They sealed it. There's vacuum. There's nothing in there. No air, nothing. The reason why is because you can't convect heat in a vacuum. So the only way that a beverage is going to get cold or hot in here. So if you have a cold drink in here, the only way it's going to get cold or hot is through the top, where the metal is touching air. Or the bottom, I suppose. I'm not sure if that's the bottom or not. No, it sounds like it's hollow. So that means the vast surface area of the glass is exposed to vacuum on one side. Can't radiate heat through a vacuum. Or I should say radiate. It's convect. You can't convect heat through a vacuum. Yep, that's why the ISS and the shuttle have big radiators. That's right. Yep. Yeah, it'll slowly convect away. It's not a full vacuum. It's just way lower pressure. But yeah, it's sealed. It's a sealed vacuum container. That's literally what you're looking at. You're looking at a much, much, much bigger version of this. This is also stainless steel. Pretty cool, huh? It's literally just a bigger version of this. These are also really nice thermoses. Just on a side note. So I'm pretty dang sure that they're going to bring the pressure down to like 0.3 bar inside of this cavity here. Not enough to make anything implode or anything, but they're going to bring it down so they can store propellants in here for longer periods of times. That's not for testing purposes. What is that there cupping? This is the propellant storage facility at the launch pad. These tanks are going to hold cryogenic methane and cryogenic oxygen. So liquid oxygen and liquid methane. And liquid methane and liquid oxygen need to stay extremely cold in order to stay liquids, or else they boil off. When oxygen exists as a liquid, it'll do the same thing as when water is heated to above 100 centigrade. It'll just boil off. So yeah, so eventually you just have a bunch of gas inside of the tank, it'll overpressurize and it'll pop. Cryogenic boil off is something that rockets that use cryogenic propellants have to really deal with. It's a pain in the butt. So, for Starship, they have fuel tanks inside of fuel tanks to fix that problem. There's a smaller fuel tank inside of the bigger fuel tank to basically do the same thing that's doing, but when you're on the ground, you don't need weight requirements aren't really that big of a deal, so you could put a big frigging steel sleeve over your stainless steel containers. In SpaceX, Elon Musk doing his thing, literally playing Factorio in real life, made the propellant storage depot for Starship out of Starship rings and tanks. This is the same design as this. The only difference is that this has control surfaces and a nose cone on it. Serious. It's the same thing. And this has vent lines on it too. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Hey, Senshai, what's going on? Yeah, the Starship looks pretty sharp with the tiles, man. It really is making me happy. So what they're going to do is they're going to sleeve this thing, and then the space between the shell and the stainless steel is going to be brought down to vacuum so they can keep the propellants cold. I think these cryoshells are similar in diameter to what BFR was supposed to be originally. Plot twist, Chris. These are prototypes for BFR. No, they're called GSE 2, 3, 4, and 5, I think is what they're called. I think. But yeah, see the actual fuel tanks. These are the sleeves, right? The sleeves look just like a water tower, but the actual fuel tanks are literally just Starship parts. It's the same thing. Only the Starship doesn't have these pipelines coming out the side. Pretty much, Monk. Yeah, it's freaking Legos, dude. I mean, with most rockets, you can't really get away with this. With most, in fact, nobody else does anything like this. You can leave stainless steel outside. It's really not a problem. If you have the right gauge, it won't rust. It's not called stainless steel for no reason, right? It won't rust. It doesn't corrode. With the right alloy. That's really important. Some stainless steel does rust. But they're using 304L, 4 mil thick 304L for these tanks. So with any other rocket, the fuselages and the fuel tanks are made out of like aluminum and stuff. They're made out of aluminum or carbon fiber. Carbon fiber you could probably leave outside. That's not really an issue. But aluminum will corrode, especially when it's near salt water. It will corrode badly. Yeah. Aluminum doesn't oxidize. It doesn't rust. It corrodes. Yeah, big pain in the butt. Yeah, or you could put WD-40 on it. Where's my WD-40? Well, I'll tell you what, boy, where'd my dang old WD-40 go? It's okay. I have a thermal detonator instead. It's because he's holding a thermal detonator. Sorry. Suddenly Star Wars. From left to right, GSC 5, GSC 1, GSC 2, and GSC 6. Oh, okay. Was that a Disney Coke? Yeah. No, it's not a Disney Coke. I got this at Galactic Outpost on the edge, in the Outer Rim territories, man. Yeah. There was a, you know, it was really cool, Merkers. I saw a really old Restomod ship there. It was an old Corellian YT-1300 freighter. And there was a Wookiee from Kashyyyk walking around it. I tried to ask him questions about, you know, why you decided to Restomod a YT-1300. But, yeah, I couldn't understand him. And then some guy with a vest and some cowboy boots came out and just told me to go away. I don't know what they were doing, but yeah, I was out at the Galactic Outpost. And yeah, I was like, wow, YT-1300. I haven't seen one of these in a long time. You know how I like looking at my old car? Like, I like looking at old cars. You know, usually people are really forthcoming with what they did, but he said something about it, you know, might not be a lot to look at, but it's got it where it counts or something. Whatever that means. I don't know. It's a YT-1300. You know, whatever. Yeah. And then I went and bought a puffer pig. May have been a black market purchase, but... Sounds like a rat rod? Yeah. I don't think it's really a rat rod. I think it's a drug running ship. The spice running ship, excuse me. What a piece of junk. Yeah. It was an old Corellian YT-1300, guys. I mean... Those weren't very fast. We might look at them with nostalgia tinted glasses. You know, YT-1300s are junk. Kind of looked like, here's a picture of it. It's an old YT-1300 transport ship. Not very high impulse engines, to be honest. It doesn't really go too fast past light speed. I mean, and some YT-1300s weren't equipped with hyperdrive in general. It's designed for sublight travel. I think this one was a factory option that had hyperdrive in it, but I don't think it went like maybe like 0.23 or 0.24 past light speed or something like that. It didn't look very fast, that's for sure. I mean, if we're going to talk Corellian transport ships, I mean, I'm much more of a fan of a YT-2400, the model that superseded it. The one that they came up after it, the YT-2400, is a lot faster, a lot more of a refined design. It's like it's smaller. It is a little bit smaller, but it's designed for very quick, fast transport. So like that's the one that they came up with after the YT-1300. Good design. It's a good one. This thing is like Block 5. Like if that's Falcon 9 1.1, right? This is Falcon 9 Block 5. Much more of a refined design from CEC. Yeah. The YT-2600? That's the one with the... No. That doesn't... Man, CEC must have been under new management after that. That looks terrible. Well, the Outrider was... I mean, it's kind of... I don't know if it's true. Yeah, the Outrider, the smuggler, I guess, he's like a moonshiner by the name of Dash Rendar. Yeah, he supposedly flew one of those things around. Supposedly. I don't know. Do you have about 450,000 lying around? If so, great news. You can go to Wish Space with Virgin Galactic. If I had 450k around, Thomas, do you think I would spend it on spaceflight? I'm dead serious. No, I'd buy a house. I'm serious. Like, I'd buy a house and then I'd just make my house look like a spaceship. Okay? Figure I could hook that up, you know, because, you know, people dig dudes with money. Never read any of the Dash Render Shadows of the Empire game and stuff. Never had an N64. Oh, Shadows is such a good game, dude. Sorry, I just nerded out badly for a second. So I see SSDO Flight Test 2. I missed one. How did the first one go? I'm still having problems with the landing gear markers. We keep bottoming out the suspension, and the flight that I needed to use to try and test it, I botched the landing. So it was an inconclusive test. So the plan, basically, from here on out with Kerbal, the plan is to fly the big one more time. And if I crash it, well, tough crap. I don't want any more money. If I crash it, tough crap. We'll put the small one back into service because the small one has fully integrated architecture. I'll put the small one back into service until I have enough money to fly the big one again. There it is. So what Disney is doing with that hotel, I don't know. That hotel's really cool. Low part count too. So I just did something. All right, Vulcan, what do you got there? Sorry, I missed it. So I just did something I've been trying to do in KSP for years now, but I got a clean working functional stage and a half system working in stock. Nice. 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 I did that a little while back, dude. I never used it for anything though, which is just a damn shame. Did you ever see mine? You ever see my stage and a half? I mean, there's that, right? But also, what is a stage and a half? Ariane 5, SLS, stuff like that. Oh, there's my Vulcan. I had a picture of my SLS in here, Vulcan. Did you ever see that? You ever see the SLS that I made? I had SLS engineers help me design that core stage in KSP, so it's scaled exactly to it. I mean, and I didn't know if they were like telling me like what it's gonna look like or whatever. I'm trying to find a picture of it for you. Grav, I'll answer your car question in a moment. Dude, I made that thing like 2 years ago, and it looks exactly like SLS, which is really cool. I'm just trying to find a good picture. SM65 is stage and a half. Yeah, that's true. Forgive me if I'm kind of all over the place today, more than usual, guys. I'm just today. Clickety-clack, clickety-clack, clickety-clack. Where the heck is it? I mean, there's pictures from the MDD missions, which were really cool. I could have sworn it was right around here, right around when I built the ET. That's just broken Condor pads. Oh, dude, if I had known about the hierarchy, I could have literally made every one of these pads work. It's really annoying that I didn't. Bingo. Oh, it's an SM65 style stage and a half. Wow, look at you. Look at you. Check that out, dude. Did that come out looking like SLS or what? Edible hit difference, eh? Oh, dude, no, it's just not sleeping. You shot me the craft file. You shot me. You shot me right in the arm. Dude, yeah, I had, once again, Vulcan, the guy hasn't been around in a little while, but I had an SLS engineer. He popped in. And it's not the people that there's still people that work on SLS that watch the stream, but this guy just randomly popped in one day, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, you're making a core stage? No, that's not right. You got to make it. You got to do the boat tails. You got to make it look right." I'm like, "What the hell's the boat tail? I don't know what that is," because this was like back in 2018, dude. We had no idea what the heck the thing was gonna look like. The guy insisted that it looked like this. that the engines kind of stuck out. And I'm like, no, the engines are mounted on the engine plate. He's like, no, they're sticking out. Trust me, they're sticking out. So I'm like, all right. All right. He's like, dude, I work at Michoud. Trust me on this one. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, I got you. And lo and behold, I mean, the guy was right. Well, damn. Twitch, you know, you'd think as, like, high-strung as I actually am that, you know, like, maybe I'd be into that, but nah. Dude, I don't need that. That's just gonna mess with my head. Yeah. Dude, you never know who you're talking to. That's a lesson of streaming that if you want to do this, you got to understand that. Especially if you're talking about stuff where you're not an expert technically in, you know what I mean? You never know who you're talking to. You never know who's behind that text. You could be talking, I could be talking to Elon. Elon could be here. He could lurk. He could be a regular viewer for all I know. I don't think he is, but... It was strange, though, yesterday. We were literally talking about how they're going to crane super heavy and what they're going to use to crane super heavy onto the pad when the Liebherr isn't there, right? We were talking about that subject matter exactly, and he tweeted it. That was strange. That's what I'm talking about, dude. It's little things like that, and it's gotta just be a coincidence, man. That's gotta be just a coincidence. That's gotta be a coincidence. Like, I mean, it's topical. It's the topical thing to discuss of the day because, you know, if they're integrating super heavy, someone will bring up the question about a crane, right? Like, it's just strange that at the exact moment we were talking about how super heavy will be lifted, he tweeted that the Mechzilla will move it. And I'm like, that's weird. Great, now you scared him away. Phil, this isn't the first time this has happened. There's no such thing as a coincidence. Merkus is like, I'm not Elon. Yeah, God, it is a little strange. Yeah, I know, Hip. That's what I'm saying, dude. Doing the pad design for you know what. Is the LV-23 launch mount up anywhere? Trying to reverse as much as I can? No, Lavi, you do not know. I am going to be petty as hell about this. You do not get to see my designs. Design it yourself. It's, So, Lavi, here's the secret. I'll tell you the secret. I don't have the... okay, you want to really know the honest truth? I don't have the pad on Kerbal X, and I don't want to put it on Kerbal X. I don't want to not waste time, but that's too much work. I'm being lazy, all right? Let me be lazy for a change, okay? So, you want to know the secret? Root part? Okay, so the secret is the hierarchy. That's my secret sauce. I have no problem telling people this because all right, whatever. Who cares? It's not like I'm proprietarily competing against somebody else or anything. If I was, I probably wouldn't say anything about it, but I'm fairly open book when it comes to my build style. It's the root part. The root part of the pad is the key, okay? So, my launch plate for the Freedom rockets is a 375 structural piece. The structural fuselage, the thing that's just a straight circle. That's the root part. Every part, so here, I will show you. I'll show you hierarchy loops here real quick, okay? So, I call them hierarchy loops, right? This feels like a 2007 YouTube video. All I gotta do is bring up the notepad. Wait, no, we need the oppressive dubstep music. That's right, I forgot about that. No, that's not the right Robert Parker. I like this. Here, how about this one? There we go. And it has to be overdriven like that. That's on purpose. Sorry. All right. Did you watch a James Webb KSP recreation yesterday? Negative. I linked the correct one. Is that good to DMCA play? I don't know. All right, so don't save. Hierarchy loops in KSP. All right, so Lavi here. Here's the secret. And I should probably make a video about this. So the structural fuselage, right? That serves as the primary load reactor for the launch table. Okay? Primary load reactor for the launch table. Because launch tables, the thing that holds the rocket, doesn't matter if it's Starship, it doesn't matter if it's the Saturn V, the mobile launcher for Saturn V, it doesn't matter if it's ABL, it doesn't matter if it's Firefly, everyone has this problem. Launch pads are extremely susceptible to torsional load. Because they're holding up a lot. They're susceptible to twisting. So if we're looking at this from the side, they're susceptible to twist load. It's called torsion. They have compression, and from that high compression force, because they have, you know, like 500,000 pounds of rocket in fuel sitting on them, right? They're extremely susceptible to torsional load. So when you make your launch plate in KSP, make it one piece. Make it a structural fuselage. So I'm using a 375. You can use a 5 meter if you want, if you're making something like what you wanted to make, right? Now, here's the hierarchy loop. So my launch table works as follows. I have an SRB here, right? And then SRB here. These SRBs, right? Those ones are in mirror. They're in mirror symmetry, okay? Attached to those, I have girder segments. The ones with the X's on them, like that. There's one attached on each side. There's another one over there, and there's another one over there. And then, attached to the girder segment, I have a small SRB, right? The small one, the one that looks like this, right? I have that, but that SRB is gizmoed up, and it's sleeving the girder segment, okay? You still with me? It's sleeving the girder segment. Why? Well, auto struts. That's why. Here. So we can get rid of the launch table. So I have the launch table right here, right? And then we have the two SRBs here and here. And then we have the girder segments here and here that are attached in symmetry. The girder segments are the pieces that are touching the ground. Okay? And then I have the SRB that's sleeving it to make it look like the girder segment is attached to the SRB, but it's not. It's an illusion. It's a fake. It's a big phony. So that's what my launch table hierarchy looks like. It's very, 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 very simple. Keep your launch table as simple as you possibly can. The reason is because, well, structure. If you use the plate, you're ruling out torsional load. And then if you start grandparent part strutting things, right? So grandparent part struts on the girder segments will naturally create struts that go right back to the main thrust plate. And then the SRBs will create a loop, and the SRBs will strut, the two small SRBs on either side will strut to the big SRB. So now, because I looped the hierarchy around and it went back, right? I have a launch table where I don't need to run a lot of struts. I don't need to run a lot of struts at all. The struts that I did run went like this for further rigidity. Blue is just regular struts, red is auto struts, right? For further rigidity. And then I strutted I strutted SRB to SRB like that. And then, on top of that, I strutted launch table to girder segment like that. I have redundant struts like that. So this, how many parts is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. That can hold up like 300 or 400 tons easily. And because you have girder segments touching the ground, this is the part that's touching the ground. 80 meters a second impact tolerance, impervious to Kraken strikes. I never Kraken struck that pad once. Actually, there was one time when I was very careless with integration, but... Hey, Randy, what's going on? Did you see Doug Zamiro's video on the Bronco? Yeah, I actually watched that on my break. That break that I took, Buck. I fell asleep to that. The Bronco looks cool, man. I dig it. I think it's a really neat truck. So... the blue is regular struts, the black circles are parts, and the black lines are connections between parts, okay? So Lavi, build it like this. Now, when you see how I use auto struts to strut where I don't need to put regular struts. I put regular struts in the gaps in the hierarchy. This, for like 23 parts, it has everything strutted to everything. Nothing's going to move, okay? Now, you have the launch plate, the structural fuselage, which makes it impervious to torsional load. You'll get some with the other pieces, but everything's strutted to everything, so it's not a problem. All right? Now, on the launch plate, like this, all I have is same vessel collision on. And then, on the side, I have a docking port. The docking port is attached directly to the fuselage. It's attached directly to it, and then on top of that, I have regular struts strutting it into position. And then I think I put panels or something to make it look like a hold-down point. This right here is the key. You do not have a high degree of separation between the root part of the pad and the stack of the rocket. That's very important. It's very important there. Degrees of separation between the root part of the rocket, the root part of the pad, and the root part of the crane shouldn't be too far from each other. 6 degrees of separation. I call it the Kevin Bacon rule. And yes, I know I'm not making that up off the top of my head. This is how I build. Okay? Did you know that auto struts reduce performance? I had no idea until recently. They definitely do not reduce performance, Woodbite. I don't know who's saying that. Fuel flow reduces performance. Stratton Blitz proved that, dude. Go watch his video about it. He talked about that entire thing. So, here, take a look. Of course, I picked the one picture that doesn't show the launch table. Now, okay, actually, it's a good question to ask. See, this is the thing that I'm talking about. You see the thumper SRB, the small SRB, and the girder segment. Right? And see the strut right there? Okay, so with that being said, Lavi, kind of a challenge here. Just see if you understand it. Build something following that as you were talking step by step. The only thing I need to fix is that the vehicle can get up to 7 meters wide in some configurations. Additional rings. Take your core stage diameter and put 2 rings to the sides, and then put SRBs in between the rings. Yeah, make 3 separate flame trenches, so to speak. My fuel farm. How do you think the fuel farm is attached? What is the fuel farm attached to? Because if you look at the pad, if you look at Freedom's pad... Alright, let me see if I can get just a good picture of it. If you look at Freedom's pad, the fuel farm isn't physically connected. What do you but it is attached to a certain piece. What do you think it's attached to? Kind of like this? There you go, Hillness. Exactly. You got it, dude. This is advanced building tutorials right there. See? That's what I just drew in paint. Right there. That's what it would look like in game. See what I'm talking about? Look at that thing. That thing's already strung out of the hole, and it doesn't have any parts. It doesn't have any struts. There's no struts on that thing. Struts are only going to make this thing stronger. Would it be a lot easier to build in KSP as you were explaining it rather than just using Paint? Paint is a good way to visualize the diagram, Nighthound, because honestly, if I showed people this, they would have no idea what I'm looking at. It really comes down to either way. One of the thumpers or the root itself? Well, are you guessing? Seriously, which one do you think? So, here, I'll even give it away a little more. Underneath each one of these fuel tanks is a girder segment. Now, I'll tell you that the outer two girder segments with the outer tanks are attached to the center girder segment. What do you think the center girder segment is attached to? It's in this picture. I'm looking at it. Low-key, you just explained a couple of OG graph theory principles with that diagram. Cool. They're going to stack it, BD, and then they're going to unstack it. Some people are saying it. It's connected to the up end of the Grammys. Yep. For the reciprocating dingle arm. Yep. The root. You got it. Degrees of separation. Cool. You guys were listening for the most part. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, well, not thank you. This is going to help you build. I don't need to tell you this. But it does, you know, it's good to ask. And then, Lavi, all the panels on here, they're just surface attached to the root part. They don't do anything. The panels are literally there to make it look like a launch block instead of like that. That's how I did it. And believe it or not, so here, now I'll really blow your mind. The SSTO, the launch box from the SSTO, for both SSTOs, is literally that. It's the same thing. Same thing with a couple of liberties taken here. Liberties taken. Excuse me. So I still have instead of a structural fuselage, I have the fairing plate with the docking port. Same thing. The fairing plate is the root part. And then the outside I-beams, symmetry. Symmetry and grandparent strut. The launch box is the same thing. It's literally Freedom's pad that just tilts. Hierarchically, it looks exactly the same. So, you know, if we go down a little bit further into the archives here and look at the big boy, look at the launch box on the big boy, that thing, same thing. It's just scaled up. The fairing is the root part. The fairing is the root part of the launch box sub-assembly, and it's attached to a hinge, a robotic hinge. Guess what that robotic hinge is attached to, guys? So, in this hierarchical design, the monoprop tank is the root part. Guess what that hinge is attached to? The root part. Oh yeah, root part. Yep. Keep your degrees of separation between parts of your pad low. Don't make long hierarchical chains of things further away from the root if you can help it. I couldn't really help it with the pad, and that's why I made the ramp floppy at the very end. The ramp flops around at the end to overcome any weird kind of Kraken strikes in it, and then only have high collision tolerance parts touching the ground. Do not make stuff stand up on SRBs. No, use girder segments. With the big SSTO's pad, I'm using these Mark III structural fuselages, 50 meters a second impact. This pad is impervious to Kraken strike. It'll blow up whatever's sitting on it before it blows up itself. I mean, I designed it to be a tank of a pad. These parts don't break. They're very impervious to collision hits. I mean, look. I blew the rocket engines right into it, and I lost 3 or 4 struts in an I-beam. And guess what? That thing? Same thing. Same thing. Yep. Each row of my triangle tiles, at the end of it, it's strutted right back into the root part. It's strutted into the fairing. The fairing on the front of the big and the small SSTO is the root part. So I have fairing, and then I have the girder segment, and then I have the panels going forward on the girder segment, and then they go up and they wrap around, and then all of these are strutted right back into the fairing. They're strutted right back to root. That's what keeps this thing so strong. It's a hierarchy loop. You should see the auto strut lattice inside of this thing. I'll show it to you guys a little later. It's pretty damn cool. got a pretty good design now. Super helpful. So yeah, I mean, Lavi, the cool thing is that you can do stuff with this. You can make that into an Atlas mobile launcher easily. An Atlas 5 mobile launcher, Vulcan mobile launcher. Heck, if you use the 5-meter fairing and you scaled up, you can make an SLS mobile launcher if you really knew what you were doing. 5-meter ring with two 2.5-meter rings on either side. Simple. Yeah, you have to keep the pad hierarchically as simple as possible, or else it'll just blow up every time you try to dock to it. So yeah, little lesson on hierarchies in KSP, dudes. This is what I've honed over all these years. That, like, all my time grinding out these launch pads and stuff. Actually, I learned most of this building Condor's pad. My fanatical need to build a Falcon 9 launch complex is what solidified how I designed things. So that push that I did in like 2018, 2019 to get Condor's pad working, those 6 months of just straight working on the pad and not working on the rocket or launching it. Sorry about that, by the way. Yeah, that's what made me able to design Freedom, Freedom 7, Freedom 10, even Venture Star. Dude, we've cranked out 2 SSTOs and 2 launch pads and an integration crane for said pads over 2 months. That is insane. That 2019 EJ wishes he could build like this. How did you fix the landing gear issues? How did I fix the landing gear issues? I don't know. Are we gonna perform drop tests today? I'm gonna fly it into space, Shady. Thank you. Yeah, I remember all that pad work. Yeah, Miss Stool Corm up in there, you dang old Stool Cormy. Dang old Stool Cormy, son of a gun. Yeah, no, it's all good. The reason why I know so much about hierarchies, guys, is because of Maya. That's why I know this, and that's why I know how Kerbal's back end works when it comes to craft functions. Felipe, when he made the game back in the day, for whatever reason, figured out that a CAD system hierarchy, like what you'd find in Maya, is, yeah, it's the same thing. Maya uses a very, 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 very similar system to Kerbal. It is a lot more complicated, but Kerbal's like a simplified version of Maya. And then when Felipe added the tweakables, like, you know, the arrows and the rotation stuff, that's when it really started. It kind of crossed my mind over the last couple of years that I could use all the stuff that I learned how to make things in Maya, like here. Shuttle 42. That you can just use the same hierarchy to a similar extent. You can use the same kind of hierarchy stuff going on. Here, check this out. Let me go into relationship editors and go to hold on. The hypergraph hierarchy. Oh, look. Oh, look. Grandparent part. Parent-child. Parent-child, grandparent relationships right there. See? This is how I see parts in KSP. Like this. Like a drop-down menu almost. Because that's how Maya works. So, if I select the real shuttle transform group, right? It looks like not all of it is grouped under one thing. Not all of it is grouped under one thing. That's kind of weird. Here. I don't know why I did that, but I don't remember why I did that, so I don't want to mess with it. How about stack? What do we got for stack? Oh, actually, a really good example is this. So see torque arm right there? And see how the torque arm has a red line right there? Well, in Maya, you can strut parts to other parts, but parts, you don't... The struts can literally do anything. They can... Now, see, that's a torque arm joint. So that's what's used, and it's attached to an end effector for rigging. Long story short, that basically makes the thing do this. Now, if you look, there's that end effector right there, right? And if I move the end effector, or if we move the wheels, watch. So, in Maya, I strutted these with constraints. Watch the control arms for the gear when I move this. See? You can strut parts to other parts in Maya. You can strut geometry to other geometry, but the struts can do anything. They don't have to be structural. That one is strutted together using 2 aim constraints and a locator to get the suspension to work correctly. See? You see the control arms moving with the gear? Kerbal does that same thing. Kerbal uses the same thing in Unity. It's called an aim constraint. So, learning about hierarchies in school, I mean, even though it was 15 years ago at this point, it still works the same in KSP. Works the same in CAD. I mean, you saw me mess with Maya yesterday when we were making starships. I mean, yeah, it's the same thing. That's how, and the second it clicked, when I was working on Condor's pad one day, the second it clicked, and I'm like, oh, it's just a hypergraph, and struts are just part connections between part attribute connections using a structural connection. Huh. Oh, yeah, no, I know this. I can build stuff. That's when, like, I totally changed the way I build things. I've had to relearn how to make things in Kerbal for my tenure like 6 or 7 times at this point. How would a CAD system make 2 parents to 1 child? Oh, for necessary, you can't. Well, I mean, you can. It would require some coding, and it depends on what you're doing. A shortfall of gravitas is farting out cloud generator. Oh, they're running a little fuel rich at the diesel there, Thomas. Check out the super interesting in-depth article about the KSP VAB structural modeling from 2013. Yeah, I know the guy that did that. That was B9. B9 made the VAB. And he made it in SketchUp, which is just unbelievable. That's Artium? So B9 works with C7 on, I forget which game they're working on nowadays. Yeah, I know. Euler, I've been involved with this project. Not involved with KSP, but I've been streaming KSP for a long time. I know a good deal of the original developers. I'm still here, though. Does that make me a KSP lifer? Is that a bad thing? I don't know. It isn't a normal graph, it's a hypergraph. That's right. Remaining tiles are on the way. Cool. So yeah, I'll have you a little quick thing into hierarchies. Super, super useful stuff to understand. Let's see, let's go back over to NSF for a second here. So, O-Force, the hypergraph, you can't really do that. It's one child to 1 parent. Yeah, it just doesn't work that way. Hey, Linux, working on an FPS mod to show the FPS of the game in a nicer graph than Alt F12. Linux, is it possible to put sim rate in there? Could you do the simulation rate percentage? I mean, you would just have to pick up off the delta ticks, right? That shouldn't be too hard. I mean, I say that not knowing dick about software engineering, but yeah, the simulation rate. So if you have like 1,000 parts on the screen, you could show frames per second, and then you could see like, oh, 70% simulation. Reckon there'll be a Starship presentation one day when they stack this thing. Yes. If this thing makes it through the plasma, I'm gonna lose it. There's no reason that it shouldn't. Hey Frank, what's going on? Do you think SpaceX will static fire SN20 and before? I'm not sure, Mile. Maybe not. Anyway, Sorry, I got really involved there for a second. Gravioli, are you still here? I said I would answer his car question in a second. It will cost you a chocolate bar. What kind? Linux, I like whatchamacallits. Whatchamacallits are my favorite. Elon just, literally, Lunprod, Elon just tweeted a second ago that they will. Dark chocolate? Okay, that's fair. He sold the car by now. Yeah, probably, Salty. Yeah, Starship should go through re-entry. I mean, it should go through re-entry here like this. Re-entry profile shapes is what they're called. So check this out. So this is from like the early 60s when they still really didn't have this figured out. I mean, to be fair, the Russians really didn't have this figured out either, but they had a couple of different ways that were, I mean, well, the Russians pretty much did. I mean, Vostok was a good idea, but making the thing a ball makes it very inherently unstable, and that's something that Sergei Korolev figured out real quick. That's why the Voshkod missions and then later Soyuz are not a perfect circle. The Sergei Korolev came up with the idea of just having a capsule that's literally a perfect sphere. That's what Vostok basically was. It was a guy literally sitting in a bathysphere. Yuri, and then Gehrman after him. So check this out. They figured out that, you know, certain shapes make the plasma wake different. Just like a hull on a ship does different things to the water, right? So Starship is not going to do this. Nose cone, see, that's why I think Elon was joking about the nose cone. It doesn't matter how pointy it is. We made it too pointy. But that doesn't matter. See, I made this mistake the other day. You know, because I think it's going to re-enter with the nose cone. Because I'm thinking about it like a space shuttle because it's me. So, check this out. I think Grav's not here. Grav, if you have that car question, just be sure to tell me. Just DM me, dude. I'll answer it whenever he's back. If anybody sees Gravioli Detector in chat, tell him that I want to answer his question. So check this out. The space shuttle really relied on that nose cone, the reinforced carbon-carbon nose cone, to push the plasma away from the shuttle. The only places that the shuttle that wake, right? The only places that the plasma wake didn't cover was the wings, which is why you see an additional shock effect right there. You see an additional plasma boundary layer, right? Photoshopped. Nice. I don't know why people are photoshopping. We're gonna see that exact picture in a second, but yeah, it's still cool. So I thought that Starship would re-enter like this, and to an extent it might change its angle of attack, but Starship is supposed to enter basically like that, with windward side, with laminar flow coming at it at 90 degrees. So it's supposed to re-enter like this. And re-entering like that gives you this profile shape, which pushes, and if the wings are folded up, right, even if the wings are folded out a little bit, for stability, it still pushes that wake really far away. It's harkening back to, actually, Sergei Korolev's design. It's just, instead of a sphere, it's an extruded sphere, which is just a tube, right? Were the engines firing in that picture? No. The Magnus effect. Yeah, kind of like that.
It goes at about a 60 degree. My hand is the rocket. It's going at about 60 degrees. So when in orbit, you're actually going at around 25 times the speed of sound, horizontal to the ground. So this is a very important concept that is counterintuitive to our normal daily life. Being in orbit, being in 0G, is not about altitude, it's about velocity. How fast are you going horizontally? This doesn't, so when something's in orbit, it's zooming around the Earth so fast that the outward radial acceleration is equal to the inward acceleration of gravity. and then you have zero gravity. This is why you actually have zero gravity. The space station, people often think the space station is stationary, but it's actually going around the world at 25 times the speed of sound, or about 17,000 miles an hour. It always looks stationary in the pictures.
So he said 60 degrees, huh? I mean, 60 degrees will still do this. If 60 degrees is what it's coming in at, the majority of your heating is going to be right around here. That's where the wake's really going to get bad. Would Starship even need a nose cone if it weren't for ascent? Yeah, you'd want the nose cone to move the air out of the way. I mean, knowing with how powerful Super Heavy actually is, I mean, maybe not. Can you link this picture? This one? Yeah, sure. I love how Alarmy is claiming this is a stock photo. That's theirs. From 1957. Implying they own the rights to this photo. This photo is, that photo's NASA. So, yeah, you don't own NASA. Yeah, I love that. That's, yeah, about that. Yeah, you know, they own that photo. You know, and you know what I own? I own the space shuttle, okay? Yeah, the space shuttle's actually mine. I just decided, just now. I'm going to put my name on the side. I'm going to put EJ on it. It's mine now. Yeah, see, so the shuttle comes in at 40 degrees, which is why the nose of the shuttle is kind of pointed down a little bit, because the nose cone needs to pierce through the plasma like that and push it out of the way. Well, your copy of the shuttle, you already paid for it. I mean, I maybe paid for some of the missions. Yeah. Basically every shuttle mission from... When you start paying taxes? When you're 18? It's when you're 18, right? I forget. I forget. It's just a constant. I don't remember when it started happening. Yeah, when you start working, that's right. So oh man, my parents made me work. My parents made me work when I was like 14. I worked as a cashier at a Papa Gino's. Damn it, I've been paying taxes a long time. So, that was in, what year would that have been? 2002? 2003? Something like that? Yep. Yeah, I think that is when I started working. No, maybe I was a little bit older. Anyway, taxes. So yeah, pretty much every shuttle mission post Columbia I have helped pay for. Ah, all right. So stupid. Anyway. I mean, you've been paying taxes for as long as I have, and I have several years on you. Yeah. Yeah, alright. Let's, I'm gonna start transferring over all the, space news links here, guys. I'm super fragmented for the day. Surprise! Your boy didn't get a lot of sleep. I had to wake up early this morning. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I have the, oh my gosh, it sucks, it feels so bad. I had to get up at 9, but getting up at 9 for me is like a mere mortal getting up at like 2 in the morning. No, that's when I'm usually asleep, like a lot asleep. So I got up, and one of Brimo's friends is visiting from Michigan, and she was flying in on the, not on the red eye, but about as close as you could get to the red eye, right? Yeah, her flight got delayed. They were out on the tarmac, they were taxiing, and it got delayed. She had to get a connecting flight in JFK, New York. So it got delayed because JFK, trying to navigate through JFK's taxiways is like, I mean, it might as well be a maze. So, yeah, we ended up staying at the airport for like an hour in the cell lot, and I tried to sleep, and yeah, that didn't work. And then I came home, and I tried to take a nap, and it still didn't work, and then I tried to start the stream, and I literally couldn't think straight. I still can't think straight. I got like another 15, 20 minutes of sleep at best. But once again, oh my god, you had to wake up at 9. Like, that's why I'm here. I'm good. I don't know for how long, but I'll be alright. Do you feel it? Do you feel the Matrix when you pay your taxes? Louiso? My taxes are pretty dang low. Like, it's not really that bad. I forget, dude, I don't remember what it is. I'd have to go look at the returns. But, the thing is, dude, I actually end up not paying a lot of taxes. And now, don't get me wrong, I'm not doing anything shady. I work from home. I have a business that operates out of my house. So I can write off a portion of my electric bill. I can write off a portion of the electric bill. I can write off rent. I can write I can write off a percentage of my rent that pertains to the space used in the house that is used for commercial. So this room, if I take the square footage of this room and subtract and figure out the total percentage of the apartment and take the percentage of surface area that this room is, I can write that off for rent. So I end up, because of this, I end up writing off a lot. I write off a lot of things. I write off car parts for the truck stream. And because I write off all that income, right, I don't really pay that high of taxes. Like, and once again, this isn't anything shady. This is not, I'm working perfectly within the confines of the law. I really don't pay that much. Do more truck streams and deduct the garage. I was thinking about it, Crumpet, but if the garage is still too expensive, I can deduct it, but I'll end up losing money. That's my problem. Because Boston the prices are super inflated because of COVID, and they're super inflated because it's Boston. Man, it's getting like Los Angeles, almost Bay Area expensive, if you want to live in the city. Now, the town that I grew up in, Boston used to be a lot smaller when I was growing up, comparatively to what it is now. I mean, it's a much bigger city. Even in 15 years, the population, it hasn't doubled, but it's definitely, there's been a crazy high amount of influx. And we know about what influx does to a city from playing City Skylines, right? So the prices get notoriously inflated because there's not a lot of space and there's a lot of people. So even the town that I grew up in, man, go look up the real estate prices for Newton, Mass. Oh, it's, you want a regular sized house? $1 million, all day. Dude, I got lucky. We got lucky with this apartment. We got damn lucky. I cannot afford a house here. There's no way, unless I make like that ninja money or something. I cannot afford a house here. The only place I can really afford to live is out in the sticks. You guys moved to Texas like all the other cool guys? Nah, Brimo wants to stay near family, either mine or hers. So, I suppose we could move to Michigan if we want, but that's moving further away from rockets than I already am. So, that's correct. Don't fall for the trap of paying your way out of taxes. You can send Uncle Sam $1. Yeah, dude, and once again, I'm not doing anything wrong. That's how you do things here in the U.S. And I could write off even more if I donated to charity and stuff. If I donated to a 501c3, I could just write all of it off and pay less taxes. That's how this system works. It incentivizes you to spend. We like spending in this country. Spoiler alert. Just move to Florida and force everyone you love to do the same. Simple. Vulcan, if you could figure out how to do that, that's fine. Vulcan, you know how I'm stubborn, right? I'm a stubborn dude. Like, that is a character flaw, if anything. It has its strengths and it has its weaknesses, right? My whole family is like me. We're all stubborn. All of us are stubborn. You go kicking and screaming, all the freaking dude. That's my whole family. Yeah, getting them to move, dude. If you could figure out how to pull that one off, good for you. Cause it ain't working. No ship 20 lift, okay? If they love you, they'll follow you. Just tested the auto strut thing. It does have an impact, but not much. 10 to 15% heavier between no struts and all parts with root. What do you mean, Woodbite? See last. What's up, Pilch? Can I link to an Imager research photo post? Yeah. Pilch, you're sub. Go ahead, dude. Go ahead. Of course, Louiso. I'm stubborn. I'm stubborn. And that, like I said, it works for me and it works against me. But, hey. Rescheduled due to wins. Got it. Alright, Pilch, what do you got for me, man? What are we looking at? Oh, the milk stand research. Yes. You and King of Beasts were working on this too. Please view research done in KSP. You don't need to ask me to, man. Dude, I'll take all the help I can get with this thing, man. We have to make that OFT work today. If the OFT doesn't work and I crash another one, we're relegated to using the small one for a pretty long time. So, if you guys say, EJ, we need you to go back to the moon, we're gonna need to figure out a way to use the small one to make it happen. So I hope the stuff that Freedom launched up there, is still useful, you know? Yeah. Made a simple test with 1,000 parts. One where they have no auto struts, another one where they all auto strut to root. It was just around 15% worse FPS for the latter. Woodbite, dude, I do not see a difference in auto strutting, man. Like, and that's my wheelhouse, dude. That's my specialty in KSP. Auto struts and hierarchies and stuff. I don't see that much of a difference in performance, dude, to be honest with you. I don't. Like, and Stratton Blitz showed that auto struts don't really affect performance too much. It's fuel flow. Fuel flow is what bogs down KSP. So if you have a lot of fuel tanks in your design, it doesn't work as well. Now, Woodbite, I want to be clear. I'm not saying you're wrong. Either. It could be the hardware in your computer. It could be the architecture or the chipset that you're using could not like auto struts as well as mine does. I don't know. Wait a minute. Who are you? Yeah, it's interesting. I don't... And see, it could be a performance hindering thing for you with a lesser, like a less powerful processor. But dude, I have a monster processing hex core. It could be something that I don't notice because of the high performance of the computer. I was about to say, I literally had this computer made. I didn't have this computer made. Chat made it for me. It's a computer that is specifically designed to play Kerbal with high part count. That's what we built it for. It's designed for high simulation. It's like a similar type of computer that you'd find for a render farm. Super powerful processor, a lot of RAM, and I put a decent graphics card in, and that's it. So, what's Elon saying? Winds are too high today. Looks like the wind speed will be low enough to stack early tomorrow morning. Oh, great. Now I got to get up for that. Alright, so... You need a graphics card for that, O-Force, you dope. Okay, yeah. I-beams is calipers, Pilch. Super useful. Okay. Okay, I see. You use the payload bay as a datum. I gotcha. And then yep, okay. Did you overlay them on top of each other? Yep. Yep. Caliber comparison. 4 big I-beams and 2 small cubes equals nose-to-nose difference. 3 big I-beams and 1 small I-beam equals payload bay matchup difference. Recommend 4 I-beam tall stand. Okay. Okay. Ah, flame trench. Yep, I gotcha. Yeah, sure. Yeah, we could get that done. That's no problem. I'm not buying computer parts for a while, Tessa. Screw that. Yeah, good work, Pilch. Thanks, man. Yeah, super helpful. Yeah, you used the back attachment point as a datum and then made... Yep, I-beams to get the measurements. Dude, yeah, no, this is good stuff, man. Actually, Pilts, I don't know if you were here for it, but I was talking about how launch pads are susceptible to torsion. And this is the same thing in real life. Launch pads in KSP mimic real life because the physics in KSP is right. The physics simulation is correct. Like the acceleration of gravity, that's right. It's the aerodynamics that's not right. It's not exactly accurate, right? So pads under heavy load are susceptible to torsional loads, just like a girder segment, or not a girder segment, a column, you know, with a heavy slab on top of it. You know, talking structural engineering, it's susceptible to torsion under high load, which is, that's how the real stuff works. Yeah, they scrubbed today's lift. Hey, Tesla rules. Yeah, it's, so a good example, and I can prove that to you if you want. A good example is when SpaceX went to launch Falcon Heavy. When they went to launch Falcon Heavy, they had to add struts to the launch table. Because the launch table, and they had to redesign the entire launch table for Falcon 9 to be able to withstand the weight of 3 Falcon 9 cores with an upper stage and payload. What they came up with is what they called, at least I think they're called, a compression bridge. So check this out. When the launch table is configured for Falcon Heavy, you have room for 3 cores, right? And keep in mind, this is just a Photoshop picture before Falcon Heavy was flying, right? You know, you have to have the hold down points for Falcon 9 are at 12, 3, 6, and 9, and then the 3 and the 9 point are the hold down points are basically attached to each other, right? And then they have these struts to also help, you know, prevent the boosters from doing this when they fly, right? So, also that picture is amazing, by the way. Pre-install onto the reaction frame. So yeah, there you go, Thomas. SpaceX had SpaceX put these things in. Those are called compression bridges, and that point right there, see that little pad, is pushing on that thing right there. And these things, they actually had to add in this beefy freaking strut, this beefy compression bridge to be able to withstand the load, because the plate was doing this. It was shifting under load. Don't ask me why I know that. I actually don't remember where I learned that, but they did redo the bridges. I know that. Where's the picture of Falcon Heavy with the compression bridges attached?
Discovery, go at throttle up.
It's in here somewhere. No, that's just Falcon 9. Hey, woo. 15-month resub. Thank you. It should be around here somewhere. Nice. Can't wait to see 20 stacked on 4. It's going to happen tomorrow. I think there... Yep, there it is. See the compression bridges? They had to basically put big freaking struts across right here in 2 dimensions, right? X and Y. That's why they have 2 attachment pieces, to prevent the whole thing from doing this. The whole launch plate, or launch table, was doing that when they tried to put a Falcon Heavy on it. Or, well, they figured it out from testing. A 4 I-beam high milk stand allows the back of the small SSTO payload bay to match up with the front of the big SSTO. A 4 I-beam high milk stand allows the back of the small SSTO payload bay to match up with the front of the big SSTO payload at a small docking port height. It makes a small SSTO work with the big SSTO pad, and a same size crew truck would work with both of them. Yeah, Pilch, if the OFT doesn't work today, I'm going to milk stool the big pad, and we'll just use 1 pad for flying. And also, we need to add the refinery equipment to the pad as well. That's another thing. But yeah, it's cool, man. It's really neat. Thank you for helping me with that, dude. That's research that I need to figure out. Yeah, see. Torsion, man. Anyway, let's we'll do the regular space news here. Okay. So here, you want to see this highway camera? Here, look at this. Hey, Rover dude, what's up? Check out this highway camera. Yeah, it's live. Bert. So the Michigan Air National Guard is working on building out mobile GSE so they can launch planes off of highways. I mean, personally, I don't know how they found a road in Michigan that's smooth enough for a plane to take off from, but Michigan people, you know what I'm talking about. Panox, 10-month resub, but why? They're, yeah. I don't know why they said they're doing that basically to show that they can, I guess. Yeah, this highway monitored the speed limit enforced by aircraft. I think that's what they meant. Don't speed, or else. By the way, you see we got our Swivel and Reliant revamps in? I did, Rover Dude. Yeah, really nice. They're an A6 and an A7 engine from a Redstone. Looks good, man. They really came out nice. I love the variants, dude. And my favorite part, Rover Dude, is the fact that the variants have different gliders. The glider box changes with the variants, which is just chef's kiss, man. Kind of bummed that that's gonna be the last one that we see, dude. But hey, it's great, man. At least 50 Autobahn sections can be converted there. Yeah, that's an idea. Yeah, that's an idea that. I mean, the other day, people were saying, like, oh, yeah, they have stretches of highway. The U.S. highway system can be used as runways. And I'm like, yeah, it could, I guess. But I'd never seen it done before. And then a week later, we see this. So, yeah, I guess it can. I guess I was wrong. Here in Germany, well, Da Vinci Art. Rewind to 1945. Eisenhower makes it into Germany, crosses the Siegfried Line, right? And U.S. forces stop in Bavaria, right? He saw the Autobahns. Eisenhower saw the Autobahns that are coming out of Munich, right? He saw them and he said, huh, it's a pretty good idea. Eisenhower became the president a couple of years later, and he implemented the U.S. National Highway Act in 1954? Or 55 and 56, something like that. And we built our own Autobahns. The U.S. National Highway Act is the same thing. They used it. He basically built public infrastructure under the guise for national security. Same thing as the Autobahns. Same exact idea. So basically stole the idea. Yeah. It's interesting that they're testing that capability now, Genesis. I'd never seen it done. I'd never heard of anybody doing that until now. Which is a little weird, but okay. More like conquered the idea. Let's just say they appropriated it. What the heck, dude? Anyway, Rover Dude, how's things, man? Everything good? I haven't talked to you in a little while. 6 of those A-10s flew over my house, over Traverse City. That's loud. Here. Well, that's just something you don't see every day. Things are good, just chugging away at the pretty things in KSP2 these days. Right on, man. I mean, there's another video here? Oh. That's just strange. So the Air Force is trying to... I had a guy in the Air Force, when we looked at this a little bit earlier, he was telling me that they're basically... They're doing mobile GSE. They're figuring out a way to basically have all the GSE, all the ground service equipment for the plane, be moved around on trucks. Basically a mobile airport, long story short. And the highway serves as the runway. When Eisenhower signed the NDA, was the clause that required every certain number of miles of interstate to have a segment of straight road, which is at least a number of feet long in case the Cold War went hot. Green, I went through the National Highway Act and I never found anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I never saw anything like that. I actually went and read the thing. They may have redacted some of it because, yeah, and so I never thought that that was true. But also, I mean, yeah. GTA 5 lobby. Dude, it's so true. So, no, I think the road beds are good enough. So, okay, all right, two things about the roads. The roads in the States are overbuilt. I know they're overbuilt because they're designed for trucks, right, and military equipment, right? If you're designing something big enough to be able to move like an IFV around, right, the plane, you should be able to take a plane, no problem. You can move tanks around on these things. The roads are built really tough. The roads in Michigan actually are very, very over-engineered because Michigan has different vehicle weight requirements for the road. That's like one of those things where a state has slightly different laws than another state. Michigan, you can move really heavy payload around on the roads in Michigan. The roads in Michigan are very, very, very thick. Was that the plane that landed on the M32? On M32, yeah. Yeah, he's carrying no payload. Yeah, that A-10 has no ordnance on it, so it's very light. It's still really weird to see that, though. That's just strange. Hey, Mock, what's going on? What I think the chance for survival is? Oh, I don't know, dude. Oh, dude, that's exactly what I saw. You remember when I told the story about how I saw the A-10 that was doing flight sorties outside of Pima at Davis Mountain, and it turned, and I saw the light? Like, get away from me. The landing? Oh, that's just weird, dude. That's so... I don't know what makes that picture look so incredibly wrong, but... Yo. You saw them being built, Linux? That's cool. Yeah, Mark, well, we could talk about Starship in a moment. I feel like an F-35 would not like this, but an A-10 can land on dirt. So, yeah, A-10's, yeah, designed to land on an unprepared surface. It can do it pretty easily because the jet engines are up high. So if you're coming in for a landing, the air either gets forced under the wing, right? Well, it gets forced under the wing, and most of the foreign object debris gets down there. You don't really have to worry about stuff getting in the intakes because the engines are... Whoa, jeez. The engines are mounted up high. Yo, the guy ripped the speed brake, dude. That's sketchy, man, because the road isn't completely flat. That's real sketch. To protect against battle damage. Yeah, there's also that, Linux. I mean, that... Indeed. The 737, 300, and 200s can land on unprepped surfaces. They use the bleed air system to blow bleed air in front of the engine. That little tube that's coming out of the bottom, Jake. Yeah, cool design. Yeah. Jeez. So, yeah, that's a thing that has happened. Isn't the A-10 basically a perfect close air support design? I mean... So, the A-10 was... It's designed for close air support, right? That's what it does. That's the role that it fills nowadays. But... what the A-10 was designed to do is take out Soviet tanks. That's why they gave it such a big cannon. All right, so it's Cold War defense doctrine, or Cold War strategy, King. Here, I can show you. So, rewind to like 1985, okay? So, the Soviet Union goes till about here, give or take, right? That's where the Iron Curtain is, okay? This is where the Iron Curtain here is. And if you look, see the mountains right here? There's the Alps, right? And then that mountain range goes down here like this, and it goes through into Romania, right? And even then, it circles around into Bulgaria and gets to the Black Sea, okay? From basically Berlin to Moscow, it's flat. It's flat. It's a steppe. It's not like the Kazakh steppe, but it's kind of the same. There is another flat area here, the Kazakh steppe and the Uzbek steppe, which are over here, right? But there's flat land, basically from Berlin all the way to Moscow. It's flat and it's kind of swampy. Anybody that lives in Europe, you probably know what I'm talking about. So, King, how does that pertain to defense strategy here? How does that pertain to the Cold War? What are we talking about? So, the boundaries for the Cold War, the Iron Curtain, if you will, basically went from right here to right here. I mean, Austria kind of cut that out, but I digress. So basically, just pretend there's an imaginary line from Kaliningrad, basically to Hungary, I suppose. That's if you want to go like that. So this gap right here is called I think it's called, what do they call it, guys? The Volga Gap? This thing right here? If the Cold War went hot in Europe, King, Russia knows this. Russia fields, even to this day, they field a lot of tanks. They field a lot of tanks because they know from past experiences that flat land is hard to defend. Because it's flat, it's primed for tanks. So the Soviets knew that. They knew that from past experience, we'll say, that it's primed for tanks. So the Soviet Union and even Russia fields an incredibly high amount of battle tanks, okay? Because if something goes hot, if some stuff goes down, or if stuff went down during the Cold War, they would have sent everything they had through the Volga Gap, and they would have had to basically blitz Europe because you'd only get one shot, so you send everything. The A-10 was designed to combat that. That's why they gave it a 30mm cannon. It's not necessarily designed for close air support. It's a tank buster. That's why the U.S. made the A-10, because they knew that if something went down, right, that the Soviet Union would go right through the Volga Gap and right all the way down to Madrid, and they wouldn't stop. They would just go. They would sweep right through and steamroll pretty much everything. So, they have a lot of tanks. That's why we made the A-10. It's a strategic response because we knew the Soviet Union was making tons of tanks. And the reason why they knew is because basically, even at Russia's border nowadays, right now, there's still the Volga Gap. It's still there, right? I mean, the lines have moved back a little bit since the fall of the Cold War, but Russia has a lot of flat, open border that's really hard to defend. That's why Russia still fields tons of battle tanks. They have T-72s, T-90s. They have tons of them. They have more tanks than we do because they have to defend that gap if some stuff goes down. Also, I mean, they have kind of a natural boundary on the other side of Kazakhstan, right? And you have through Kyrgyzstan, right? You have the mountains up here. But even over here, by Irkutsk, there's still kind of open area into the Gobi Desert with China. So they have to defend over here a little ways, right? And they have to defend over here. Down here, you're kind of safeguarded, I guess. But, I mean, right here, you have Georgia and Azerbaijan, which has the mountain range going through it. So it's kind of a natural barrier there. So you don't have to worry about that too much. But yeah, Russia, even today, and the Soviet Union back then, had tons of tanks. They had tons of tanks because there's no other way to defend this. You really can't. There's no... how are you going to defend that border? That's a 1,000-kilometer border right there. That's really tough. And even when the Iron Curtain was there, it's still a lot of land. It's a lot of land to cover. We got to play Hearts of Iron now. Yeah, we should. It kind of explains why they love satellite states so much. That's the reason why the Iron Curtain existed, Shady, because the Soviets needed it as a buffer. because to protect their, influence, they use natural barriers. It's actually pretty smart. Smart idea. I mean, the U.S. does the same thing, but we have the benefit of having 2 damn oceans between us and anybody that wants to come near us, right? The only place to get through is South America. See where I'm going with this? I mean, we did the same thing. So, King, the A-10 was designed to combat the heavy Soviet tank presence, and the reason why the Soviets had a lot of tanks is because that's what they needed to do to defend the border. So, in the reverse scenario to that, if the Cold War went hot and we invaded them, we would get bogged down trying to take tanks out. And once again, the Soviets learned that lesson pretty well during World War II, why you would want a lot of tanks on the Eastern Front. Like I said, past experience. Buffers and proxies, King. Yep, that's the game. I know that T-16s are fielded on Tatooine, especially around Beggar's Canyon. Yeah. Very, very light, very maneuverable. Big cannon on it. Bullseye womp rats. No bigger than 5 meters. Yeah, floating, exactly. During World War II, when the Germans blitzed them, they weren't ready for it. I mean, they were trying to. We were trying to stock the Soviets up during Lend-Lease to get them enough stuff to defend that border correctly, and they... Oh man, I mean, dude, hell broke out on the Eastern Front, dude. I don't like talking about the Eastern Front in World War II. It's gruesome. It's disgusting. Like, it's not... If you have a weak stomach, don't read about that. It gets pretty bad. You think D-Day was bad? I mean, don't get me wrong, D-Day was bad. I'm not trying to undermine it. What happened at Stalingrad was even worse. Like, just... Oh, so much death. Anyway, yeah, that's why the A-10 was built. It was built to combat the tank presence that would go through the Volga Gap during the Cold War. I mean, we still use them now for close air support. It turns out having a 30-millimeter cannon on tap is useful for things. You want to level a building? Just no more building. Yeah, Dutch guy. I mean, I read about it because I like reading about that. It's important to understand. The Eastern Front is the best example of 2 nations truly throwing every single thing. I mean, yeah, the Germans had to, because they knew they would have gotten pinched on 2 fronts had they not tried to strike first. That's why they did what they did. It doesn't excuse the behavior. Doesn't excuse that, but the Soviets probably would have done the same to them because they were paranoid. Germany and the Soviets, very uneasy trust right there. They were both paranoid that each one of them would have been invaded. Germany was just the one that pulled the trigger first. And literally Poland got squashed under that kind of fight. Yeah, passing. That's where we left off playing Hearts of Iron. I was playing as Stalin. My best friend just switched to A10s. It's been on 16s, 15s, and now working on A10s. Cool. Do you recommend any books on the Eastern Front? Wikipedia could do you right, Need. The Wikipedia stuff is pretty good stuff. I mean, I'm sure there's some books out there. Pro tip, don't invade Russia in the dead of winter. Well, there's this thing. They didn't. Operation Barbarossa happened in summer. That's when the operation started. It started in, July? So the Germans invaded in the summer because Mustache Man knew you didn't want to make the same mistake as Napoleon, so they had to do it quick. It almost worked, dude, which is kind of, that's a scary thought. I didn't want to believe that. That's no good. I mean, he was close, but they actually ended up stretching the supply chains too thin. They stretched the supply chains too thin, the Germans did, and then it got cold. And German equipment did not like the cold. It was very well engineered equipment, but with Russia cold, your oil turns to sludge, and sludge does not make engine do work better. No good. Can't go late through the mud. Yeah, that's the thing, dude. The stuff gets bogged down. So in the summer, the ground is dry, but in fall and spring, that Volga Gap area, I said it's kind of swampy, right? It gets wet. It gets very wet. And the tanks sink into the ground. And that's literally what happened. They're still finding tanks underground that have been buried because they just sank into the mud. Yeah, passing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The Germans got, yeah, I think they got like 15 kilometers outside of Moscow. It was close. Kind of happy that the Reds pulled through. Yeah, that would have sucked if they didn't. That would have been very bad. Yeah, supply lines are key. Green, yep. Mm-hmm. It's crazy how close it was. The time Winter and Center, the Germans had almost same men feel that they'd circled so many troops in just a few months. I mean, obviously, once again, you know, the Autobahns weren't the only thing that the U.S. kind of appropriated in their doctrine, either side appropriated in their doctrine post-World War II. The U.S. blitzed in Desert Storm. We blitzed Kuwait and we took out the Iraqis real quick. And then the Soviets did the same thing in Afghanistan in '79. They took over the country in like a week. Oh yeah, like the entire country, the whole thing. Something like that is Mick. Yep. The morale hit King, I think, would have been problematic, but yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, fortunately, Russians don't like taking crap from people. So, yeah, they fixed that problem. Yeah. Russians don't like taking crap from people. I don't know, John. Hard to say. Maybe we'll simulate that theory in Hearts of Iron one day. Yeah, that's right, Bio. Anyway, you guys want to get back to space? It's interesting stuff. Like, I don't mind discussing stuff like this, fellas, as long as nobody makes it into that kind of argument. You know what I mean? It's interesting to understand and learn why people did what they did. That's like my big thing. I like understanding, even if I don't necessarily agree with things. Like, I understand why the Germans invaded the Soviets when they did. I get it. I don't agree with it. It was a stupid move, but you're kind of screwed. There's no way they could sustain that expansion. Once the Soviet Union's engine got running, that was game over. And they knew that. That's why they did what they did when they did. You know? Oh yeah, no, Dutch guy, I know all about that, man. I mean, the Germans, that whole Untermensch thing, not cool. Not cool. Not cool. Don't, yeah, bad, yeah, nope. Oh dear. Not cool. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. I don't want to get into it, man. It's disgusting. Yeah, right. Let's see. Anyway, we'll get back into space news, dudes. I don't mind talking about this stuff from time to time. I like learning it, but yeah, only in small doses, dude. Because it's only a matter of time before the armchair generals come in. And that's when this turns into a Twitter argument, in which case I don't care anymore. You know, I'm like, yep, nah, I'm good. I guess, goalie, yeah, something like that. Anyway, let's get back to it. So here's a live shot. Yeah, Dutch guy. I mean, you guys should probably read about it. It's a good series of events to understand. Not that freaking history class is going to teach you anything about it. You know what I mean? Yeah, Knight. That hearts and minds stuff didn't really work in Vietnam, and I don't know why we expected it to work this time around either, but let's go to this. They did over here, trust me. Yeah, Dutch guy, I mean, we talked about it, dude, but in history class, but then again, I wasn't really paying attention anyway. But then again, it is military history, so maybe I was. But then again, I went a lot more into depth than what the curriculum was because, yeah, no, I used to just bury myself in the history book during class. I remember right when we started modern world history, like sophomore year, I went right to the World War II part and read that chapter like 4 or 5 times while the teacher was talking about other things and I wasn't paying attention. And the teacher would be like, "Hey, EJ, are you paying attention?" I'd be like, "Wow. Did you know that the U.S. landed at Omaha Beach with no tank support?" Like that's, I would say stuff like that, and the teacher would be like, "EJ, we're not talking about that," and I'd be like, "Yeah, I know. Did you know that though? That's really cool." That and the military channel. I watched too much of that growing up. You guys remember that channel? Nice. So basically what you do now. Yeah, except I get paid for it. Ka-ching, ka-ching, you know. Yeah, floating, that's right. I mean, yeah, you want to start reading about World War II, you have to start in 1918. You have to start at the Treaty of Versailles to understand really what happened. And then you should probably do World War I because you have to understand why the Treaty of Versailles was signed the way that it was. It's that's kind of an important lesson to learn. Yeah, I know, Siege, you're right. Why no tanks? Just curious. What do you mean, T-Man? Maybe start with the Franco-Prussian War. Yeah, probably would be better. I did the same kind of thing with my 5th grade science book. Read it cover to cover during class that year. We only did the first 10 chapters. Yep. How old am I, dem boys? I'm 33? 33. Oh, tanks with D-Day. T-Man, so... Alright. Last thing, and then we'll get to space news, okay? So, the Sherman tank, right? The Sherman tank, the U.S.'s main battle tank during World War II. They developed what's called a duplex drive system for the tank, and this is what it looked like right here. The DD, all right? You just DD Donald Duck because it's amphibious, right? So the idea was that they had another drive shaft coming out the back of the tank that went to a propeller, like a boat that went out the back of the tank. The tank's hull is mostly watertight. But in order to get the tank to be buoyant enough, they had to put basically a cushion around it, and this cushion would kind of go up like a shower curtain almost. They would raise it, and the cushion would be like up here, and only the gunner seat up at the top would be able to see over the cushion. Okay? Now, here's the thing. You know how I always talk about testing with spaceships and stuff, and that if you're operating outside of your tested engine, your tested criteria, then you didn't test well enough? Case in point. So at D-Day, they thought, oh, we know that there's a bunch of German pillboxes there, and the Atlantic Wall that Albert Speer and Rommel built up on the coast would be hard to get through without fire support, without tanks, right? So they came up with this. The problem is that they only tested it in calm waters. All right, that part of Normandy in northern France is not known in the English Channel right there. It's not known for calm seas. The English Channel has tides going in and out constantly, right? The tide goes in, the tide goes out. The tide goes in, the tide goes out. You couple that with wind, you get extremely choppy waters. And guess what happened during D-Day? The tanks weren't designed for choppy water. So they deployed the tanks with the Higgins boats, and the current started blowing the tanks away from the beach on the water. They started, because boats are susceptible to wind. Sailboats kind of do that all the time, right? And the tanks had to try and compensate. And when they tried to compensate, the water hit this inflatable cushion in a way that caused it to collapse, and then the tank sank. No tank support. Yeah, that's why Omaha Beach was such a crap show. They had no fire support to take out the pillboxes. So basically, guys stuck on the beach with no cover. Nothing. If you watch Saving Private Ryan, you'll see. So, Yeah, those duplex drive tanks were a good idea in theory, but they didn't test them in choppy waters to see. The water would basically, you know, because the tank had to go at water, the water was coming at the tank this way because they had to steer the damn thing, right, in the choppy seas. The water would just come over and fill up the cushion, and then the cushion collapsed under hydraulic pressure, and then the tank sank. They didn't even get near the beach. Really, goalie? That's interesting. History doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. Usually Caesar was screwed over by tides in the channel 2,000 years earlier. Yeah. Yeah, Sip, right? That's a good point. Yeah, history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they had no fire support, and they still took the beach team, man, which is testament to those guys, dude. It's the greatest generation. My grandparents. For the younger folks, it'd be your great-grandparents at this point. Yeah, the tanks are still there. They didn't ever bother getting them out. They're just like, all right. Yeah, the tanks are still sitting at the bottom of the ocean in Normandy. They're still there. But did they have battleship support? Sure, of course, T-Man. But a battleships at that point weren't as precise to be. I mean, you got to remember, you have guys on the beach, right? And they're maybe 100 meters away from these pillboxes. Battleships don't. When you fire those battleship shells, windage could make them hit your own guys. So battleship support doesn't really work at close range like that. That's why stuff like the A-10 exists. The A-10 can deliver a surgical strike real quick. You don't have to worry about hitting your own guys because right there, it's pinpoint, precision. All right, a modern, you know, surface to ground munition would be like the JDAM, which is a guided munition that's based off of a Mark 82, 500 pound bomb, I think. You need to be able to be precise to not hit your own guys. I mean, even then, still, it does happen, you know, and it's terrible when it does. Yeah, Pride, we'll go with the flight test soon. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly, Hellfish. Yeah, T-Man. Yeah, anyway, let's get back to space news. We'll get through that real quick, and then we'll get into KSP. Alright, ciao, come stai? See you last, okay? Just going to point out that the Canadians were the only ones to reach their day one goals on D-Day. Yeah, but we gave you the easy beach. We gave you and the Brits the easy beach. We took the hard stuff. No, the Canadians were very good fighters. They broke the German line and then they liberated Caen. CAE, and I'm probably not saying it right. They did it real quick. Yeah, they actually powered through. It's one thing that I know, like, you know, I've noticed that people that live in, like, hellholes, I'm not saying that Canada's a hellhole, but, like, people that live in harsh environments, Russians, Canadians, Australians, they usually fight the hardest. I mean, there are Americans, too, that live in the desert or, you know, in the Midwest. It gets cold there. Very freaking cold. But, yeah. The Finns, yeah, another good example. Yeah, I'm noticing a unifying theme here. Don't invade people that live in a very harsh environment. That usually doesn't end well. Hey, drummer, what's going on? Yeah, Canadians and Australians, really good fighters. Historically, very good fighters. The Australians, if you want to read about what they did, the Australians actually were very, very, very involved in the Vietnam War. They had elite Australian operations units doing special forces missions with the U.S. Special Forces in Vietnam. It's very, very interesting stuff. Vita Satana. Yeah, right? Yeah, we're trying to escape by any means necessary. Yep. Yeah, I mean, Tessa, there's also that. Except when they wage a war against emus. Yeah, never underestimate your enemy. Permission to post the link. Go ahead. Sure, Linux. Yeah, good conversations, dudes. Sorry, it's kind of a chill day. I don't really have as much of a regimented schedule today because it's all messed up. Oh, nice, dude. Look at that mod tool. That'll show you simulation rate and the FPS. That's sick, man. Last, what's up, Vasya? A wee bit off topic, but short. Look what my friend saw yesterday. Yes, dude. God, what a great car. And, you know, like, freaking Russian equipment, man. Like, I get it. It might not be the best equipment around, but I do really appreciate stuff that's built to last.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Hey, look at that. That's awesome. Last Pelican, 34-month resub. Pacey, 27-month resub.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
That's right, Bio. Yeah. That's cool. Look at it. Simple, man. Simple. I like this type of engineering, dude. Just because it's a simple design doesn't mean that it wasn't simple to engineer. That's why I like Ladas, man. Yeah, I get it. They rust out. They rust like crazy. More so than any other car. But that four-banger is bulletproof. That four-banger, nothing will destroy that thing. If I recall correctly, the Australians had world-class weapons in World War II. They helped a lot in North Africa. Oh yeah, they served wherever the Brits would serve. Yep. I know, Ramos. It's unbelievable. Not quite ready to release, but real soon. I like it. Where is this? Is this at the factory or something? Auto snort. The A10 could destroy it. It's a Lada. Why would you destroy a Lada? That's like, it's like blowing up a smart car. It's like, what is that? It's tiny, but it ain't hurting nobody. It's just a little tiny car. That's why I like Ladas, man. They're freaking. I unironically actually really appreciate them because they're super simple. They're not designed to be necessarily high performance. They're designed for a good enough ride and designed to get you there. I appreciate that. I appreciate the simplicity of the engineering. Some kind of museum in Yekaterinburg. I mean, that Lada's in really good condition, though. Only the Russians could take an Italian design and make it actually reliable. Like, only the Russians... Could anybody else do that with an Italian design? Because the Lada is based off of the Fiat 124. It's an Italian design. You want simple? Yeah, Trabants. I know about Trabants. That's a little too simple for my taste, Tessa. That's a little too simple. A two-stroke lawnmower engine in a car? That's a little too simple for me. Trabant's, I mean, it is a absurdly simple automobile. You want bare bones of the bare bones, man? Trabants are the way to go, but I wouldn't necessarily call the Lada reliable. That engine's impossible to kill. The 1600cc and the 1300cc, they're impossible. I mean, it's a pushrod motor. It's basically half of an American V8. It's the same design. You ain't gonna kill one of those things. It's impossible. Put an LS1 in it. Dude, I don't even... Yeah, a 5.3 in a Lada, that would work. Hellfish, my GMEs is... GM knowledge is not very high. Did they make an aluminum 5.3? The aluminum 5.3 would be... Yeah, that might be a little too much for the little Lada. I don't know if it'd be able to take that. We call Trabants soapboxes in Poland. Nice hat. Thanks, Eminem. Actually, Tessa, you know what would be a good motor for Lada? Rover 3.5. Rover 3.5 would be perfect. That would be perfect for that thing. You don't need, dude, too much power. You're just going to spin the rear wheels. There's no weight over the rear wheels. It's a rear-wheel drive car. It's a Buick motor. Yes, 5.3 has been all aluminum for over a decade. Was the Iron Duke motor GM? Yeah. Actually, yeah. The Iron Duke would be perfect. Or a 2.3 SVO engine. Ooh. Tessa, can you imagine a 2.3 dual overhead cam? Like a Kazi motor in the Lada? I don't think the Lada would know what to do. I thought the Rover engine was a Chrysler. Buick. Buick. It's a GM design. It's an aluminum small block Chevy, basically, or for you lot, it's an aluminium. The perfect motor is electric. Turbines. 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 Yeah, turbines, yeah. Turbines are very simple. Cosworth Vega. Now we're talking, James. Anyway, alright, let's do space news real quick and then we'll go. Virgin Galactic says its Unity 22 spaceflight carrying Richard Branson had 19 million views via live stream and third-party broadcasters. Yes. Including the YouTube channels of CNBC, CNN, Sky News, Bloomberg, NASA Spaceflight, and Yahoo News. Hey, nice. That's cool. Cultural impact at a glance. The perfect motor is no motor. Just walk, Baragna. I keep seeing a GT500 in mint condition driving around. Oh, nice car, Maka. Yeah. That's cool. All right, what else we got? This next one's coming from Mike Sheets. Virgin Galactic Q2 report is out today. Reopening ticket sales at 450 grand. Next space flight targeting late September. Adjusted EBITDA. I don't know what that means. Chat, help. Loss of 56 million. 522 million cash on hand. Adding another 500 million from stock sales. Huh. Nice, Tessa. Cool. Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Thank you. Oh, that's not... I mean, you gotta operate at a loss when you're starting out. That's usually how business works. Okay. I mean, 450 G's ain't bad. That's not the worst. Yeah, you read it's like, yeah, I got ninja. Earnings before stuff. That 500 stock sale, the 500 million stock sale wrecked the price. Give me that price on a ticket to orbit, then I'll be interested. Yeah. Lines. Here. SPCE. Whoa. What? Wait, what's that? Why did it dip? Why did it dip like that? Isn't that... Wait, when did they fly? That's right, when they flew. Why did it dip after they flew? Virgin dumped 10% of the company's stock right after the flight. That's from... Okay, that's from the... That's from that. I got it. Okay. Interesting. Because it was a bubble before the flight. Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah. Man, someone got burned on that deal right there. I hope somebody wasn't investing too much there. Somebody got wrecked. I mean, they almost half the stock price. Whoops. Oops. My friend burned 8K on that deal. Ooh. A lot of people probably lost lots of money. Yeah. The good news is that they diluted the share, I guess. Here, check this out. Check out this tweet from Northrop Grumman. Next space news. Using advanced stealth materials and digital tools, the B-21 Raider will be more affordable, maintainable, and sustainable. Using advanced stealth materials. Oh, wow. Look at that's a really stealth plane. Did they actually tweet? They actually tweeted this unironically. Yep. I mean, that's one hell of a stealth piece of kit right there. It looks like your plane hangar in KSP. I mean, I didn't know they made a transformer. They can transform it into a tent. Man. I thought it was a joke. No, that's a real tweet. I love the internet. The internet's the best. Did they really? That's their stock picture? It's just a tent? That's it? At least they're consistent. At least they're consistent, I guess. That's great. I love it. That's the funniest thing ever. The shadow, yeah. That's so good. Oh man. That's amazing. Yo, and it's not a joke either. Look, it's detectable until it's not. Really? 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 Oh my god. Oh, Jesus. Oh yeah, look, the new rendering. New render was released. Look, there it is. Nice. Well played. That's pretty good. Alright. We got a time lapse coming from Relativity today. Relativity is a company that's working on, well, all different types of rocket tech, but they're really, Relativity is a rocket startup company that's mostly centered around 3D printing as much of the rocket as humanly possible. So they got us a time lapse here. Let's see what we got. Oh, yes. Yes. See, all those tanks were 3D printed. Look at that. Yeah, so they're putting a barrel segment there, and then this next piece that comes in is the top bulkhead, all 3D printed. Wait, am I seeing things, or was that a 51-star Old Glory in the new? 51 stars. That's weird. Is there something that they're not telling us about, or? Are we finally giving Canada statehood? I was hoping moon base, to be honest with you. But, I mean, that could work too. I mean, at the very least, we'll take Alberta if if they don't want it. I mean, we'll take that. That's fine. You know why? Oil. It's an American thing. You wouldn't understand. Cuba? They can have Cuba. That's fine. Yeah, there you go, John. It's an American thing. They wouldn't understand. Maybe DC? Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, Relativity 3D prints their tanks and rocket engines and everything. And they're using neural net prototyping to do rapid simulation to come up with the most efficient design over time. It is weird, man. So that's the tankage for their small rocket here, and then this is what they're eventually going to lead into. They're going to basically come up with a fully reusable solution that's kind of in the same ballpark as Falcon 9 or Atlas 5. And before you say, like, yeah, really, like, they're not... No, they have a lot of capital behind. If you want to go read, you know, about who's investing into rockets, Relativity has a lot of capital behind it. They just bought McDonnell Douglas's factory in Long Beach. Well, Boeing now. The factory that they use to make C-17s. So big enough of a production facility to build heavy cargo planes, they bought the entire damn factory, and that's their headquarters, which is pretty nuts, man. See, stage 2, look at it. It's all 3D printed. Except for the bolts, I guess, and some of the pipe fittings. But the tankage is all 3D, which is really, really crazy stuff. You got to see how they make this thing. It is, here. Yes. Well, there's Tim. That's the CEO. I don't know that guy. I'd love to talk to him. I want to see if they have a time lapse of them 3D printing one of these tanks. It's really, really crazy stuff. There we go. Look. Laser sintered aluminum barrel segments, which is, dude, that is cutting edge stuff. Like, look, it just craps out a tank. Just zoop. Bulkheads, yep, all 3D printed in. That's really, if that catches on, and this is Relativity's selling point, if that type of manufacturing catches on for rockets, I mean, this is a time lapse, and it did take a couple of days to do this, right? But they could out-manufacture everybody because 3D printing is faster than how we do it now. How anybody does it. Heck, that's faster than how SpaceX can make steel rings for Starship. It's faster than that. Yeah, Broke, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, John, I mean, you can crap out an entire barrel segment in a couple of days. That takes like a couple weeks for anybody else, even Starship. How reliable is it? Well, we have yet to be seen. It remains to be seen. They haven't launched anything yet, but see what I'm talking about? It is scalable. Yeah, look at there. It's laser sintered aluminum 3D printed barrel segments, man. That's really ridiculous stuff. Yeah, see the printing cells in here? Theoretically, you can completely eliminate human error too. Yep. Why no 3D welding? That's basically what that thing is doing, Neptune. The laser, it's not using a welder, but it's using a laser to sinter aluminum together. It's almost welding. It's close. Might as well be. Do I have a link to how they use their neural networks for rapid prototyping? I'd have to go to their website. If you go to their website, let's just do it this way. If you go to their website and you scroll down a little bit, they didn't really mention it much in passing per se, but here, let me go over here to Terran R. Yeah, dude, they're building a fully reusable solution, which is just wild stuff. Look at that. That's all 3D printed, which is bananas to me. Most of that is 3D printed. The nozzle's 3D printed, the tank's 3D printed, the engine is 3D printed, which is just, all right. Where was it? It's in here somewhere. Nope. Factory? Where's that page, fellas? Where's the page about Terran R and how it's supposed to use the machine learning? Maybe it's one of their videos on the Tweeterers. So here, let me back out. Let's just go to media here. See what we can see. I remember when they came out with it. Look at the grid fin. The grid fin is a good example of what I'm talking about here. The video? There it is, Thomas. Thank you. Thank you for your Google flu, man. Watch. Oh, nice, Klein. There you go. Whoop! That's about Falcon 9 sized. 216 feet tall is about 60 meters. It's between 60 and 70. 16 feet is a little bit under 4 meters. So Falcon 9's 3.7. So 16 feet is about that. It's got a 5 meter payload. 5 meter payload bay? What? Wait. What? Imperial, metric, imperial. Guys! Why? Why? What are you doing? Yeah, check that out. Did you see the skin of the rocket? Look, see the skin of the rocket? They're gonna 3D print that. See, they say topology optimized support structures. I could have sworn there was more to this, but dude, I can't find the exact link. I know they're using neural nets though. They're using neural net rapid prototyping and dynamic simulations to come up with the best structural design, because they can literally print whatever. You can print whatever, and if you use our neural net to make the the CAD for you, and then you could just 3D print it, and the 3D printer could just print out something that looks like cells. To be honest with you, it looks like plant cells. My last has the info. Oh, there it is. Yeah, got it. Here. Not yet. Get out of here. Yeah. Oh. Hey. Yeah, get off the screen. Yeah, see? They're taking finite element analysis simulation data, process sensor data, post-build inspection data, other training data, and then... That's freaking cool, man. So they run a bunch of simulations, right? Basically, they run a bunch of sims. They basically play Kerbal with whatever their simulation program is with a design. And the neural net it'll take all that data, clap it together, and it'll come up with something for you. There were 4 warthogs landing on that road. Cool. Because they're getting paid in metric money. Yeah, it's actually really freaking cool. That's I mean, once again, you look at that and you're like, oh, grid fins. Okay, I see them. But when they show close-ups of the damn grid fins, let's see. Come on. Of course they don't show them. Yeah, see? Maybe I don't know. Either way, it looks like, yeah, you could tell it was not designed by a person, that's for sure. They're basically using rapid prototyping and neural net simulation to basically make Charles Darwin into an engineer, which is, man, I wouldn't have even thought of that. I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't even have thought of that. That's too big brain for me. Yeah, see, look at the grid fin. You see it and you're like, it's just a Falcon 9 copy, right? It's just a fact of what the hell? It's ridiculous. Nice cat. Thanks, Nevia. Yeah, it looks like an insect wing. Interesting. I hope that works out. That's a really cool idea. Anyway, let's bust through the rest of the space news real quick, guys. We got to get to that test flight, don't we? All right, we're excited to announce a multi-launch agreement. So this is coming from Planet with SpaceX, solidifying them as our go-to launch provider through the end of 2025. This partnership enables us to launch new satellite projects that deliver flexible, accessible data to our customers. Planet, SpaceX launches small sats for Planet on the transporter missions, the rideshare missions. Yeah. Cool. So, yeah, SpaceX locking down another satellite provider. Pretty sweet. All right, cool. This is coming from Chris Kemp. He's the CEO of Astra. Excited to announce a multi-launch contract and launch window beginning August 27th for 6 with the Department of Defense. So Astra has a contract with the DoD for their for Astra Rocket 3.0. Interesting. Astra is a company that came out of the Bay Area, and they came out of the woodwork being funded by DARPA. For a rocket that is totally mobile. So Astra's rocket is a small sat launcher. It can't move much more than maybe like a shoebox into space in terms of payload. Not much more than that. But Astra's rocket and the launch pad and the ground service equipment and the fuel tanks all can be put in shipping containers. That's what Astra is trying to bring to the table. They can literally launch from anywhere within 24 hours. All they got to do is just truck everything there. They could launch from a parking lot. So think like kind of like a Scud missile almost, kind of, except you don't need, this thing can be carried on regular trucks. You don't need that big freaking launcher that a Scud missile has, right? They can literally put the launch pad and the rocket inside of shipping containers, put it on a regular truck, and drive it anywhere in the world, and put everything down and be ready to go whenever. They can launch from a parking lot. Even mission control. Mission control is in shipping containers. Yeah, it's really freaking cool, actually. Yeah, it's a cool thing, Hellfish. I'd like to do that for fun as a project in Kerbal. Like, basically make a launch pad anywhere there's flat ground. Like, basically you can do that now. But something that could be transported on trailers, that would be really neat. Or on a train like the Bond villain, I suppose you could, Pacey. Can you imagine a rocket launching from a moving train going into space? I'm not going to say that I don't want that. When is the Starship test? Not today, windage. Cool. It's some weird era, yeah, straight out of a Bond movie, right? Yeah. I set the timers for 6 minutes. The same 6 minutes you gave me. It was the least I could do for a friend. Planes drop a rocket in. Yeah, that's right, Dylan. Yeah, if you can launch from a plane, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to yeet one off of a train. Anyway, let's keep going here. Keep it moving along. Mars helicopter has safely flown to a new location. Ingenuity flew 130.9 seconds and traveled about 380 meters before landing at a spot that will help set up a series of future reconnaissance flights to help NASA Perseverance in its search for ancient microbial life. That's cool, man. They're using Ingenuity to basically scout out the terrain. That's cool. Yeah. Well, Bio, I mean, kind of did something like that. It had grid fins too, but it didn't go into orbit. Yeah, Mile, it's interesting. Are you telling me they did helicopter on Mars? They've done helicopter on Mars. They've done a lot of helicopter on Mars. All right. So let's move over across the pond here to some Russian news. Let's see what we got. Russian scientists want to test a new navigation system on the ISS. Russian scientists want to test a fundamentally new nav system on the ISS. Okay. The Space Research Institute of the Russian Academy of Sciences is creating sensors for testing at the International Space Station. A new system of orientation and navigations via the stars. So that's called the Star Tracker, which will in the future be used for flights into deep space. Oh, that's neat. This directional navigation through X-ray pulsars is being worked on. One of the projects is possibly installing it on the ISS to understand how to make the system work in space and work better when we go to launch it out into deep space. These are star trackers. That's how spacecraft navigate, guys. I mean, not so much anymore because we have TDRS and GPS and stuff like that, and the Russians have GLONASS. They have tracking satellites. But, you know, you want to go out into deep space? Just like if you went out sailing, you'd use the stars to navigate. In the early spaceflight missions, astronauts and cosmonauts carried naval sextants, which is a tool used for ship navigation. Yeah, and that's how they maneuvered around in space. Actually, it's interesting. The guy that pioneered that type of technology, or that type of implementation, I guess, not the technology. Naval sextants have been around for hundreds of years. The guy that came up with the idea of doing that in space, actually Buzz Aldrin. He's the one that figured that out. Yeah. You can navigate by the stars in space. Sure. Figure out your exact position, just like you can on the water, which is really, really freaking cool, actually. EJ, 24-month resub. Thank you. So they're looking to prototype a new one. I'm guessing it's probably going to be for Oriol. Let's see. This is a system that was previously named GLONASS. This is a navigation by the position in space of radio pulsars and neutron stars emitting periodic radio pulses. I mean, it is a star tracker, but it's a different type of star tracker. That's cool. Pulsars act as natural beacons and can be used for deep space navigation. The development of a new navigation system in 2020 was announced by the Space Research Institute. The map of the location of the radio pulsars in the universe is compiled by the Russian-German telescope Spectre RG, operating in orbit, which was launched in 2019. Cool. Neat. That one's using pulsars. That's pretty rad. Do pulsars ever die? I don't know enough about astronomy to be able to answer that question, to be honest with you. I'm going to guess yeah. Nothing is definite. Everything is finite in the universe, from what I understand. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes, but I don't know the answer to that. The 4-ton Proton third stage rocket from the Nauka launch is expected to re-enter on Thursday. Yep. There's Nauka. There's its boost orbits right there. What is this down here? This is coming from Jonathan McDowell. There's the ISS up there. Yeah, it's James Bond. Yep. Two pairs of altitudes, apogee and perigee. Yeah, I'm stupid. Yeah, eccentricity. I forgot about that one. Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, it says it right there, Lavi. If only I could read. Sorry, I blame not sleeping on that one. We got some anniversaries this week. Oh, that's cool. Oh, neat. That's cool, John. I'll have to read about that. I don't have a Facebook account, so if I tried to show the link on here, it would be like, hey, have you tried signing into Facebook? You should join us. And I'm like, no, I shouldn't. No, I don't need to do that. Cool bio. It's pretty metal. Yep. Yeah, see, they used slight eccentricity to catch up to the ISS, and there he goes. All right. Another bit of Russian news here. Oh, RSC Energy is working on the next Progress rocket. Okay, I gotcha. Oh, no, Prichal. As a part of the transport ship module Progress. Ah. Yeah, Progress MUM. Nice. Launch of the Prichal nodal module into near-Earth orbit is scheduled for November 21. This is what's going to attach to Nauka. Awesome. Here, let's check the footage.
В ракетно-космической корпорации «Энергия», которая входит в состав Роскосмоса, завершились технологические испытания узлового модуля «Причал» в составе...
How do you say that?
Узлового модуля «Причал» в составе транспортного грузового корабля модуля «Прогресс МУМ». В течение нескольких недель специалисты РКК «Энергия» выполнили совместные испытания модуля «Причал» с комплексными стендами служебного модуля «Звезда» и многоцелевого лабораторного модуля «Наука». После проведения заключительных операций расстыкованные компоненты корабля и наземное испытательное оборудование были подготовлены к отправке на космодром Байконур. Выведение на околоземную орбиту узлового модуля «Причал» планируется в ноябре 2021 года.
He said at the end, Prichal should launch in the end of the year, basically. So that's this is called, so Progress M. M is usually the designation for Progress, right? Or Soyuz. And then UM, Utility Module. That's the type of module that Prichal is. Prichal is the proper name for the module. That's its name. Like Zarya and Zvezda is Dawn and Star. They tested Prichal with equipment from Zvezda and Nauka. Yep. How do you say it? It's just utility module, Basia, right? That's what it. I've been saying Uzlovoy. That's not how you say that, is it? So basically, they'll take a Progress and they take the orbital module off and they put the docking module on there, and then they take a Progress or a Soyuz service module and just attach it to the back, and then they send that up into space. Okay, I was saying it right because he said it differently. It was probably the grammar or something. No, Uzlovoy. Okay, got it. Translation and voiceover by BMI Russian. Did you see what they did to that poor Lada with the wheel bearings the other day, Tessa? I cringed at that whole thing. I'm like, stop, it's already dead. This post shows an estimation for the amount of tiles that are on Starship. Nice. What's the total? 15,000? That's almost the space shuttle levels. It has many names, yeah, okay. The module of many names. It's cool because, I mean, it's cool that they're still putting Prichal up there because Oriol could dock to it. That would be really neat to see. That'd be really cool. Yeah, and here, the stock footage here with the guy talking is the actual module. Let's see. Yeah, that's a Soyuz female docking port, SSVP. Right there, you guys testing ground equipment. That guy is about to play Counter-Strike. Push B, давай. Sorry. And that's so on the back it has a Soyuz female docking port, and on the front it has the male. This is going to dock to the bottom of Nauka. Could you turn on the sound again? Sure.
Транспортного грузового корабля модуля «Прогресс МУМ». В течение нескольких недель специалисты РКК «Энергия» выполнили совместные испытания модуля «Причал» с комплексными стендами служебного модуля «Звезда» и многоцелевого лабораторного модуля «Наука».
Okay.
После проведения заключительных операций расстыкованные компоненты корабля и наземное испытательное оборудование были подготовлены к отправке на космодром Байконур.
So, he said what you basically said before. They've tested it with components from Zvezda and Nauka. And then I think he said that Energia... It's basically what he said in the tweet. It's the same stuff. Energia is working on it, and they're working on integration and testing with the other modules that are up there, with components from the other modules that are up there, and it's going to launch later this year, right? That's the gist of it. I mean, once again, I translated it into English, but that's what the guy is saying. He's basically saying all of this right here. MUM. Yep, utility module. Christian, so you're currently fielding 2 different work offers from 2 fairly large companies, so I may have a steady job coming up soon. Cool, man. How old is this one? Pritchell is not old. So Pritchell is a relatively newer design. These utility modules are something that's Russian and not Soviet designed. Nauka was the last Soviet-made module that Roscosmos had. That was the last one. Everything from here on out is Russian design, not Soviet. Part of the reason why the Russians want to leave the space station eventually is because they can't keep maintaining this old Soviet stuff. Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. It lasts long because it was built. It freaking built like a tank, right? But the stuff gets old, man. Eventually, you're gonna have to make something new. Space is not a forgiving place to operate, you know. No, Pritchell is much newer. Here. I don't know off the top of my head. Let me see. And once again, this is off Wikipedia, so who knows how accurate it is. Wikipedia's usually right about this, you know. Okay. The orbital pilot assembly in that's the OPSEC space station was a proposed Russian space station to support deep space. It's planned to be constructed in orbit while attached to the ISS. Pritchell, with its 6 docking ports, would have served as the only permanent element of OPSEC, while the other modules would come and go as their lifespan mission required. In September 2017, Roscosmos stated that there's no plans to separate the Russian segment from the ISS. This ended the public OPSEC plans. Yeah, okay. In the mid-2000s, Energia, the manufacturer of the Russian orbital segment components, added the Uzlovoy module to the future configuration. Preliminary design was completed in 2011. And it was expected to be incorporated into the ISS in 2012. Oh, this thing's been ready for a little while. Well, hey, it's good that they're getting around to it, man. Like, I think that all this, like, the commercial space endeavors, right, in the U.S. and just kind of a resurgence in spaceflight popularity is convinced people in high places over in Russia and in China too, like obviously like they launch all the time, to kind of put some more money towards the space program, which is cool, man. That's cool. That's good, man. I want more people in space, not less. As long as nobody up there is shooting each other, don't do that. We're good to go. You know, anybody that freaking has the stones to go up there and send people up there, you know. Good. That's cool. Well, it's faster than James Webb. We don't talk about that. Why don't Russia send new modules to the ISS instead of making a station on their own? Okay, Rem, level with me. I'm sorry. I'm going to ask a stupid question. Nice. I'm going to ask a stupid question. You know that the Russians just launched Nauka to the ISS like last week, right? Nauka's the size of a city bus, dude. It's a big module. And Pritchell, the one that we're talking about, is going to the ISS. the Russians are basically setting themselves up to use the ISS as a prototype test stand to build a new space station. That's what they're going to do. And we're basically doing the same thing. We're only the U.S. is going to do it with Axiom. Yeah, Ivo, I see it. I'll keep an eye on it. So Axiom Space is going to do the same thing here. Here, check it out. They are going to attach a bunch of modules up to the front of the ISS, and they're going to prototype these modules out over the next decade, right? And then when the ISS is junk, they're going to separate and make their own space station. Sorry, I was testing your chat bot. All right, Open. Hey, don't worry about it, dude. I mean, we got the ping, but hey, Open, can you just do me a solid, man? Because, like, I don't know, like, who's out there on the internet, who's in Twitch chat. I don't know if someone's going to spam ASCIIs or whatever in the chat. Just let me know if you're going to do that. I honestly don't care if you use my chat as a testing ground. I really don't care. I like testing things. That's fine. Just do me a solid if you could. Like, seriously, I don't care if you ask. Like, don't scare me. You scared me for a second there. I'm like, oh no. Who's going to do that? To stop, please. You know, like, yeah, all it's going to take is something just up chat, and then it all goes to hell, man. But hey, yeah, I appreciate you letting me know. Thank you. Just ask next time. That's all. I honestly don't really give too much credit. If you want to use it, as long as you're not messing up the chat too much, I don't really care. So the ISS is basically a pressurized bus parking lot. No. Sea Dragon. The better way to think about it is that if you took a bunch of motorhomes and kind of parked them all next to each other and made them all work together off one power source, that's a better way to look at it. Each module is like another RV. You take another RV, and then you go to the top of the RV, and there's a bridge connecting all the RVs, and then everybody uses solar panels for power. And then it's also traveling 17,500 miles an hour in space. That's basically what it is. It's a trailer park in space, man. Wait, does that make the astronauts up there space rednecks? Is that a Winnebago? We're picking up signs of a Winnebago. Winnebago? Lone Star. Lone Star! I'm pretty sure, guys, that OpenAI is just somebody that's watching the chat and just messed up in the wrong chat. It's all good. It doesn't bother me. So don't let it bother you, dudes. All right. Anyway, so some Starliner news coming from Boeing. So this is good news, and well, it's good news. So sneak peek. I still have to revert my game to actual testing the docking ports because 1.12 is flimsy. Lock out the docking ports. Oh, it looks great. Yes. Interesting architecture, Labby. Yeah. So, Starliner and Atlas are in ULA's vertical integration facility. Our team is prepping to power on the spacecraft. That's a good sign. Yeah, that's a good sign. A process that takes several hours. This enabled the team to send commands to Starliner and receive data in real time. Okay, so why is that a good sign? Well, if they're powering up the module, so okay, here's how you think about this. Use some kind of logic reasoning, I guess. Starliner had a sticky valve. That's why they brought it back into the VIF, okay? Boeing specifically said that it is not software related. It's a hardware problem. Literally one of the valves, I think it was in a water tank or something, was stuck. It was closed or open. It was in a configuration that it was not supposed to be in. Okay? So they said that yesterday. So there's a tidbit of information there. Now, the next day, they're powering on the vehicle. Power on the vehicle to send commands to it. Well, if they're sending commands to it, that means that they're sending commands through the software on the vehicle to the hardware. That's how I can tell you that's good news. Meaning that they're going to fire up the capsule and make corrective commands to the software to get that valve to close and put it in the configuration that's needed for launch. I can tell you just from the tweet yesterday and the tweet today that that's a good sign. Because if it was a hardware problem, if there was a hardware problem with that valve, they'd be taking apart the capsule. Powering it on isn't going to fix the hardware problem that they have, right? If there was a problem and they needed to get at the capsule to actually replace the valve because it's broken or whatever, right? They would have to dig the capsule. They wouldn't be powering it on. You don't want to power it on and then replace the valve when it's on. Anybody that's worked on a car knows that you disconnect the battery if you're working on anything electrical, or even some mechanical components, right? Don't disconnect the power and ground yourself, if you're working on a computer. But so the fact that they moved it into the fifth and they powered it on tells me that this problem isn't as severe as everybody's making it out to be. It's just Boeing most likely is working out of an abundance of caution here. They probably figured out how to close the valve, but they're trying to figure out why and trying to see if it's if it's not software related, but like if they can adjust the software or the guidance or whatever to make sure that valve doesn't do that again, whatever it did. Disconnect the battery with cars. It was an analogy for cars again. I know. Funny coming from me, especially with this hat on. So they hit it with a hammer. No, I don't even think they hit it with a hammer. They just connected the battery again. If they're powering it on, Hellfish, that tells me that there's no hardware problems, because they wouldn't power it on if they knew it was, if they thought they had to replace some hardware, right? They wouldn't do that. That makes no sense. An age-old unplug it and plug it back in. You'd be surprised, Driz. That absolutely is a thing with rockets. We've watched missions where they're just like, yep, sensor's giving us a bad reading. Turn it off and turn it back on. Sensor says it's good now. Launch it, and the mission goes off fine. Well, Phil, they said yesterday that it is hardware. It's not a bad sensor. So something tells me that they powered up the capsule. They're going to power up the capsule, and they're going to do kind of a wet dress rehearsal with the capsule and see if that mode with that open valve or the uncontrollable valve goes away. It could be a last-ditch effort to prevent a week-long process of taking it apart. Hellfish, the other thing is, okay, we got to, I get it, it's engineering. Do you think Boeing would report bad news? If this is the last-ditch effort to get the capsule, and we have to get the capsule apart, we have to fix it, they wouldn't tweet about it, man. You ever see anybody tweet out bad news unsolicited? Like any rocket company ever? I don't think that's a thing, man. SpaceX? When? SpaceX never tweeted about the Amos mission. They never tweeted about CRS-7. They tweeted about CRS-16, but that's only because the mission was successful and the first stage failed. The president did for 4 years. Wookie, I mean, we're talking about having good public relations here. Yeah, that's the end of that. So, I mean, dude, Boeing wouldn't tweet out bad news voluntarily like that, dude. Look, I've been working enough in this industry, right, to know that that's not how that works. They wouldn't tweet out... They wouldn't tweet out something saying that they're cycling the power, for it to be like a last-ditch effort, like to fix the capsule. No, they would tweet something out like this if they figured out the problem and they're going to test that. They're going to test it. They wouldn't. Companies don't tweet bad news like that. You can post bad news, but in a positive way. Like, we learned a lot and gained good data. Yeah, Toto, but you only figure that out in press interviews and press statement releases after bad stuff has gone down. Like, nobody does that voluntarily. You know what I mean? Nobody voluntarily just tweets out bad news for their company. That's not how that works. They only do it if they have to. And now, I don't know. Do you think does this tweet looks like I had to tweet this out, everything is fine? type of tweet. I learned a lot. Like, I don't know if that's necessarily what this is saying. I don't know. You guys be the judge. I guess it comes down to personal opinion, I suppose. Messi's leaving Barcelona. Wow. All right. That sucks for FCB fans. Jeez. I've seen failures tweeted, but I don't put that in the same category as just voluntarily tweeting bad news. Yeah, this isn't what this sounds like, Bobby. And once again, I don't have a source here. I don't know anybody that works on Starliner, believe it or not. That's just my gut. They can't afford to pay his wages. Sad news. Yeah, truly the end of an era, huh? Like, I don't even know much about soccer, football is what we'll call it. I don't even know that much about it to know that, yeah, no. Messi in Barcelona, he's been there for a long time. Maybe they don't know if it's bad or good yet since they just started troubleshooting. Why would they report that, Phil? Does that sound like Boeing to you? See what I mean? Just use a little bit of reasoning there. And dude, my gut's telling me that that Starliner, whatever was wrong with that valve, they fixed it. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw it roll out to the pad sooner rather than later. So I mean, once again, that's just my gut. If I'm wrong, I'll be the first one to tell you. I met someone at a grocery store that was working on the software for Starliner, although that was 5 years ago. Cool. This might be the perfect game for you. The perfect game for you. It fits your humor. Infra puts you in the boots of a structural analyst on a routine mission. Quickly, though, your task turns into a fight for survival, all caused by deep-rooted schemes of the past. Your tools are simple. Your camera and the wits to navigate a labyrinth of debris. What? It's crazy, Tessa. Yeah, Phil, that's what I'm getting at. A friend of mine worked on Starliner as a systems engineer for a year or so, but she's working on satellite testing now. Ever seen Yes Minister? You should always freely and openly disclose things that the press will quickly find out anyway through other means. I guess. I personally believe, yeah, Barak, in this, yeah, that's right. That especially applies to spaceflight because, yeah, people will find out stuff. There's a lot of hearsay nowadays with spaceflight because we have a huge influx of new space fans because of, SpaceX and, Blue Origin and all, and, Virgin Galactic even, they're all bringing in, and I mean, NASA's PR game of, under Jim was really good. Oh, that's cool, John. Yep. Yeah, that's right, Thomas. Anyway, so yeah, that sounds like good news to me. But I will leave you with this here for the last bit of space news, and then we'll switch over to KSP. Check this out. Elon tweeted this. Yeah, that's right, Sebi. So they didn't go to stack SN20 today on 4. The winds were too high. It was too windy down there to do it. So with the crane, right? The crane is extremely susceptible to wind, especially up there. Wind can cause deflection in the boom, so the boom can do this. Don't get me wrong, a little bit is okay, but if you introduce too much, if there's too much wind and the crane sways too much back and forth, you're going to get deflection. And if you get deflection, that introduces shear load into this, and yeah, not a good idea. Speaking of lifting, X to doubt though. What's that? Yeah, no more crane. Yeah, you don't want to get deflection in the boom. Aiming to stack ship on the booster. Yeah, that ended up being today. Winds are too high. Looks like the wind speed will be low enough to stack early tomorrow morning. And somebody asked him, will this be an issue in the future with maybe better designs for higher winds? Because I would imagine this are pretty important for faster launches. Elon says, once the catch tower Mechazilla is operational, winds will rarely be an issue. Oh, that sucks, Tessa. But hey, it's just a number. Happy birthday, though. World's biggest and most expensive piñata. I spoke too soon. Well, I mean, Sip, if the tower can... We know that, like, okay, so... The tower looks like it can deflect. I'm bringing up paint. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. So if you have SpaceX's tower right here, right? And it has that kind of catching device on it that can go up and down like tracks, right? And we know that the center pivot point for the arms is right here. I'm pretty sure they're going to put hydraulics here and here so this thing can move sideways. So if the orbital launch mount is right here, right? If the orbital launch mount is here, you know, and it can move back and forth. So I don't think you're going to get much windage with this thing. I'm pretty sure that thing should be able to, like, all they should be able to do is just drive a super heavy near this thing, and the tower with its hooks, like, should come down and it can pivot, grab something, pick it up, and then move it back. So I'm pretty sure those hook arms, right, are gonna be able to sway back and forth because of how they have this. They have the pin set up right here for the catching arms. If we go back over here, hey Bristol, 39-month resub. Thanks, man. If you go back over here and look at the ERC-X thing. It was from yesterday. Alright, fine. We'll do this way. Yeah, sort out by media. That'd probably be a better idea. Jesus, these people tweet a lot. This is ridiculous. So these levers can move in like this, or they can do that. And Elon pretty much all but confirmed it right here. Very close to real. Arms are able to move during descent to match exact booster position. Catch point is off to the side in case the catch fails. You don't want the booster to land on the mount. Booster is then transferred back to the mount for the next flight. Designed to have about 1 hour turnaround. Yeah, see that? Very interesting. Very, very interesting. That's actually a cool idea. It still doesn't really... I still can't figure out how that is going to be able to move Starship and stack Starship, but anyway, I know I'm a little late on this, but EJ, your opinion on the GAO's ruling on NASA giving SpaceX the only lunar lander? It's a little more complicated than that, Rogue. The HLS program, Appendix N, well, the Appendix N is a modification, but the Next Step 2 HLS program is for a demonstration mission, an unmanned and a manned demonstration for landing on the moon. That's what that contract is for. NASA is setting up a follow-up program to that called Lunar Exploration Transport Services. And the Lunar Exploration Transport Services are for operational missions for the lander. SpaceX really only has the contract for an unmanned landing on the lunar surface and then Artemis 3 landing with people. The Artemis 3 landing with people. So, I mean, Rogue, the GAO found no problems there. There were a couple of discrepancies and a couple of things that were brought up in the protest that were negligent, but they were negligible in their negligence, I guess, is the right way to say it. Basically, NASA worked completely within the confines of the law to try and get the best bang for their buck, and the most mission assurance that they might be able to get to the moon in 2024. Blue Origin and Dynetics didn't. And this is why I was trying to talk about Appendix N. Appendix N to the broad agency announcement for NASA's HLS program under the Next Step 2 program, right? NASA added that in September of 2020, and Blue Origin and Dynetics basically didn't notice. They added a stipulation that you can lower your bid if you can show them that you have the private capital to fund the project. Basically, you can help foot the bill for it if you think it's going to be viable for you. So SpaceX is the only one that noticed that. It looks like Blue and Dynetics did not notice that. That's why SpaceX was able to bid $2.9 billion. Starship's going to be way more expensive than that. It's going to be way more expensive. Elon footed the development costs for HLS out of his own pocket. It was like $2 or $3 billion in the source selection statement. He threw a crazy amount of money at the HLS program, and they included that in their bid, and said that, NASA, we could pay for some of this stuff. We only need $2.9 billion from you. Blue Origin and Dynetics, or the national team of Dynetics, did not do that. They just put a bid in and said, yeah, you're footing the entire bill. So their options were $6 billion and like $9 billion or something. Nice. So, yeah, long story short, the protests found some things that NASA did incorrectly, but they weren't enough to overturn the decision. The GAO only shows that NASA operated completely within the confines of law. And from what I can tell, it looks like the national team and Dynetics missed the fact that they could fund this stuff out of pocket to lower their bid. With that being said, the HLS program, when Jim got it on the books last year, he couldn't get the funding for it. NASA asked for $3 billion in change and got like $300 million or something like that for the program. The HLS program was drastically underfunded, and NASA basically, because they underfunded the program, they had to change their strategy, so they added the option for people to self-fund it if you want. And then they also added the stipulation that they could pick 2, 1, or 0 contractors. Once again, Appendix N to the broad agency announcement for the human landing system under NASA's Next Step 2 program. That's the legal document. So, I'm happy that SpaceX has, Starship is on the books for NASA. I'm really happy about that. I'm really happy that NASA funding is going towards it. I'm not too happy that there weren't 2 landers selected, because that could lead to stagnation and going back to the moon. That's unsustainable. And that's what I agree with Blue Origin. It's unsustainable only having one way to get to the moon. You gotta have 2 ways to get to the moon, or else. That or they knew it but just opted not to go that route for whatever reason. Yeah, Dynetics saw it and they said, all right, fine. We'll keep working on our lander and maybe we'll get a contract later. That's right, Phil. That explains his letter. It seems like Blue Origin missed the fact that they could fund it out of their own pocket to lower their bid price. What's stopping them from funding it all anyway? There's this thing called Congress. So, Rogue, I'll be honest, it's pretty cool. I'm happy that SpaceX got the contract, but I'm not happy that NASA basically, this is what happens when you underfund things. I always say that underfunding is dangerous. This whole mess is due to the fact that Congress, the House and the Senate, did not match the executive branch's budget request for HLS. Yeah, that's what started this whole fiasco. And yeah, for whatever reason, it didn't happen. Yeah, it's funny, Mile, because, you know, Congress underfunded the HLS program, right? They underfunded HLS. They didn't give it the money. And so NASA's like, all right, fine, we can only choose one lander. And then Congress said, wait, no, you can't just choose one lander. You're not allowed to do that. I have a feeling like right after that happened, money just magically appeared. $10 billion over 5 years for lunar exploration transport services. That just kind of came out of nowhere, huh? I have a feeling that, you can't just pick one lander is a veiled attempt at saying, oh, you didn't pick the right lander. You know what I mean? Pretty sure that's what's going on there. The professor from Blue Origin. Yeah, Gary, he won't stop talking, Arilu. Yeah, won't stop talking. He's just, that's New Shepard's lead engineer. Really smart dude. Yeah, Mile, that's basically what happened. They said, well, we need money for a lander. And they're like, okay, here, have a little bit. And then NASA's like, we can only afford one lander this way. And they're like, we know. And then they picked SpaceX, and Congress said, no, you can't just have one lander. That's not how that works. You know? I had a feeling that, you know, if, you know, in this scenario, Blue Origin, or the national team probably ended up lobbying, and they'll probably end up lobbying for more money for the HLS program so NASA can select 2 contractors. So they can select 2 landers. Which, you know what? I don't have a problem with that. I get it, it's Blue Origin, everybody likes to harp on it. That's a good idea. You need to have 2 ways. You can't, one way to get to the moon is repeating Apollo. Not a good idea. Even if it is Starship, it's not a good idea. If I was going to pick 2 Rogue, I would have picked National Team and SpaceX. Because with SpaceX, you get 2 ways not only to land on the moon, but you get 2 ways to get to the moon. And the National Team represents, you know, old tricks are the best tricks. You know, a very type of Apollo-esque lander, not an exact copy, obviously. But that gives missions for SLS, and that, you know, uses a more kind of vanilla type of architecture for going back to the moon, so you have the best of both worlds. That's what I would have done. And that's what I think NASA should still do. Once again, Blue is right in that regard. Dynetics' lander is cool, but you don't... I believe they were going to launch on Vulcan, and they wanted Vulcan to refuel it, and it would have taken like 6 months to get one lander into a rectilinear halo orbit to land. I do like how Dynetics' lander is set up, but I really would have liked that lander to end up going on like a Block 1B SLS cargo mission, so it could just put it right out to the moon. Yeah. I also like that the national team system is SLS with New Glenn working together. That basically means 2 launches will get you to the surface, rather than with SpaceX with Starship. And no, I'm not saying this is a bad idea. I'm saying it's 2 different types of architecture. 2 redundant, dissimilar ways to get to the moon would be better for NASA. Just like Commercial Crew with Starliner and Dragon, same idea. Or if you really want to stretch that, Soyuz and Dragon 2, or Soyuz in the space shuttle. Having 2 different ways to get there is always a good idea. SpaceX would have to launch one Starship, and they would have to refuel it a bunch of times. With the National Team lander, it works much more like an Apollo mission. So you can have a direct way to get there, and then you have a short-term way of getting there and a long-term way of getting there. I think that's the right move. Now, I don't know. I mean, maybe Blue Origin can talk to enough, or the National Team can talk to enough of people in the right places to get the money for that NASA needs. I don't know. it's for that contract 2.9 billion is just for this year, Goalie, and that the HLS program that SpaceX won is for an unmanned demonstration landing sometime before 2024, and then a crew demonstration landing for the Artemis 3 mission. Starship will basically be the lander for Artemis 3. So yeah, Rogue, that's kind of where I'm at. Blue Origin is really trying to shed light on this issue and demonstrate why it's better to have 2 landers. And some stuff I agree with them. They've been putting out basically what's akin to hit pieces about Starship, which I'm not too incredibly happy about, but I have a feeling that those infographics aren't for us. I have a feeling that's the kind of stuff they're going to show in like a Senate committee or whatever. Like a test. It's for the Rule 8 people. I'm pretty sure. Because, once again, I like the way that I just explained it. I think the way that I just explained it, having 2 dissimilar methods and 2 completely different architectures separated from each other in almost every way, shape, and form, is better. Because the only thing better than having 1 way to get to the moon is having 2 ways to get to the moon. And the only thing better, Rogue, than having 2 ways to get to the moon is having 3 ways to get to the moon. You know what the only thing better than having 3 ways to get to the moon is? Having 3 ways to get to the moon and a way to get to Mars. See where I'm going with this? I'll always argue for more spacecraft. Yeah, the more the better. Blue Origin needs to display an orbital class rocket working, and then maybe people will take the bid more seriously. It's not necessarily true, Maverick. Money talks, and Blue Origin has a lot of, or I should say, a wealthy financial backer. It's not necessarily true. But I agree with you. New Glenn needs to launch something soon, you know? To add, Blue might be leading it, but the national team is far more than just Blue Origin. Correct. Yep. But yeah, I actually agree with Blue on this one, and it's not I don't agree with them that they think they should be the solution and not SpaceX. I agree with them that they should field 2 landers. That's the right move. That will retire risk for the mission. You know, if you have 2 landers, if you have 2 ways to get to the moon, and you have a set a deadline to get to the moon by this date, and you say, hey, you build a lander and you build a lander, have them done by 2024, your favorability for actually completing a mission in 2024, or not favorability, your probability of completing a mission by 2024 with 2 people working on landers just increased, because now you have 2 landers. One could be done quickly, and if one of them misses the deadline, you still have the other one. It retires risk, and it makes the program more sustainable. Do you think that 2024 is a realistic time frame? With SpaceX doing the lander at this point, yeah, sure. Why not? That's right, Thomas. Yeah. I mean, SpaceX is full speed ahead on Starship development. I have no reason to believe that it wouldn't be. If it was anybody else, it would be tough. It'd be tough. It'd be real tough. But, yeah. Lewis, I think it's doable. I've always said it was doable. Nobody agreed with me on that one. Of course it's doable. We developed a lunar lander when we had no idea what we were doing in 6 years with the Apollo program, right? And people are going to say, well, we don't have the Apollo money, EJ. Well, we don't have the Saturn V money, and we're developing a lifter that's comparable to the Saturn V right now for like literally 1/8 of the cost of the Apollo program. SLS has almost as much throw as the Saturn V. It's very close. And the upgraded versions of SLS down the road will have the capability of a Saturn V. Easily. So we're building out the architecture for an Apollo program for like pennies on the dollar comparatively. So there's no I have no reason to believe, and I get it that that's money and not time frames, right? But a lunar lander, if it took 6 years when we had no idea what we were doing with basically a blank check, it should take 3 years with appropriate funding. I don't see why that's not a thing. It should be a thing. The reason why SLS took so long, right, is because it didn't have a purpose. They didn't know what they wanted to do with it. Jim fixed that under the NASA Transitional Authorization Act of 2017, basically creating the Artemis program and giving it a mission. Working in cislunar environments with SLS was its new mission. Basically the second swoosh from the Constellation program for the most part, which is great. I was happy about it then. I'm happy about it now. They didn't give it a mission to do anything set in the books until 2017. So SLS basically just did nothing for like 5 to 10 years. They just drew up plans for it the entire time. You notice how 2017, 2018, 2019 is right around when we started seeing SLS stuff get made? That's right, Grav. Problem with the national team all comes is that the two boosters, Vulcan and New Glenn, have a common engine. So if there's a problem, well, Ali, I don't think that Vulcan and New Glenn are going to be the things that move that stuff up into space. I think SLS is going to move portions of it. Oh, Maverick, yeah, no, SpaceX is dope, dude. Maverick, like, here, if you're newer to the stream, guys, here's how I look at things. I will always argue for more spacecraft. I don't play sides with anything. I love what SpaceX is doing. I love what the national team could offer in the future. I love what SLS is doing. Any rocket. The more, the better. You know, space is the new hot thing, right now. But I've been doing this for a long time. Providing spaceflight commentary. You know, space is big, and it is back, but we don't know what the long-term sustainability of the space program is. And the only way to really ensure long-term sustainability is having more rockets and more competition. Even if that competition flounders down the road, you still establish... we have to get kind of over a critical threshold where space becomes a part of everyday life. Just like my running analogy is the automobile. The automobile was too expensive. It was only for rich people until it wasn't. Airliners were a very expensive thing in the 20s, in the 30s, even into the 40s. They were a very expensive thing to do. They were only for rich people until, it wasn't. And then the jet age came. And then now I could take a plane to the other side of the world for a pretty reasonable price, considering you're going halfway around the world, right? We got to get to that critical threshold with spaceflight. We're not there yet. We're not even close. That's going to take time. So as long as we're not near that threshold where space and going to space and living and working in space is as fun, as rudimentary as like taking a jet airplane or like a jetliner on a business trip, then we're not going to get near that. It's dumb to choose sides until we get to that point. That's really, really short-sighted and really stupid. You really think SLS is going to be used more than just a people mover? Yeah, sure. Stealth aircraft were easy to see until they weren't. Yeah, right. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, dudes. You think we'll start mining and colonizing asteroids in our lifetime? If we get to that threshold, Maverick, sure, why not? And the trajectory that we're currently on right now says, yes, that's totally possible. I mean, if you were born in 1920, the airplanes that were flying around in 1920 were made out of paper and wood. Just 20 years later, when that person born in 1920 graduates from high school, now planes are made out of metal. And they have very sophisticated piston engines, right? 20 years after that, jet airplanes. And then 10 years after that, we walk on the moon. Oh yeah, it could happen. We just got to keep going on that trajectory. And that's what I mean. Picking sides and saying, oh, SpaceX is the best, we should only use SpaceX, or NASA's the best, SpaceX is stupid, blah, blah. Doing that, which is what people do all the time, dude, it's so freaking annoying. That doesn't get us there faster. Because at the end of the day, NASA is the one that's tossing out contracts for this stuff, especially when it comes to going to the moon and the ISS and transport services to the ISS, stuff like that. NASA's the one handing out these contracts. Guess what NASA's funding is tied to? It's tied to public perception. So there's a social component going on there. NASA has to be seen as a useful thing for the taxpayers, or else it gets defunded very, very quickly. Very quickly. So, yeah, I mean, being divisive about spaceflight is really stupid in the long run. All that's going to do is create divides between everybody that wants to go to space but gets hung up on how we're going to get to space and get over that threshold that I'm talking about. And that being at each other's throats like that is not going to get us there any faster. In KSP, how much Delta V for Duna? Here. Oh, look at Magiguana's link. Period. Kind of like the Navy, until World War II finally taught us that, hey, maybe we should keep this stuff around. Yeah. Imagine if the Epstein drive was real. NASA's working on that stuff, Maverick. It's not a fusion drive like in The Expanse, but nuclear thermal is close. Yeah, look up NASA's nuclear thermal